the show. Just got through doing our little talk of the day. We'll maybe bring up some of these topics with this guy today, but we have, as we said it in the graphic, we were just talking about it off camera, the number one creator in sprint car racing. We have Tanner Holmes on the line. Tanner Holmes, you are there. Are you actually there?
Yeah,
People are blown away.
I am. I am actually there. How are you today, Chaz?
I was trying to figure out a way to roll out some kind of like digital red carpet. I figure anything less than that for Tanner Holmes is an insult. There has to
Yeah,
be something I could have did differently. We're doing okay though.
that's good. That's good. No, yeah, no, it's just middle of the week. I mean, we got a little West Coast racing. We're kind of just wrapping up our season out here, but things are obviously pretty crazy in the sprint car world right now. It's kind of end of the year, first year, having two series, and I was just talking with some people about it. Obviously, silly season's kind of in full swing too, so exciting times in sprint car racing. A lot to talk about. That's for sure.
Well, and I mean, as far as drivers moving around, I mean, it wasn't technically silly season for you, but I would say that probably the most shocking spin of any seat changing was involving you with the whole Jacob Allen thing last year. That was pretty crazy. It was a big shocker for
Yeah,
most.
no, that for sure. No, absolutely, that was. I mean, and for me, that was like my first chance to really get on the big stage consistently. And obviously there's a difference when when you get to hop in someone else's car, and obviously they had a tough season up until that point, but they've been out on the road doing it, and that was a huge blessing to just get to run with guys that have done it before, and then now that has allowed me to take that and trying to do it with my own program, which is difficult in its own ways. So we're taking steps, but that was really cool just to have that opportunity to drive for someone else. It's obviously a lot different driving for someone else and than driving for your family and the dynamic of that. But yeah, no, like I said, it's crazy times in sprint car racing. I think it's from what you hear all the stuff behind the scenes just being at the track, but it sounds like a lot of guys may be going different ways, and like I said, people jumping from series to series. So like I said, just a crazy time and a lot to talk about. Keeps things pretty fresh, and excited to see how it all pans out.
Yeah, and I would also add on to that. It's a situation where this two national series deal. I think it's added a lot of dynamics, to even the silly season in itself, because then it's like, okay, where's the guy going? Where's he? Which even with this, I guess we can reference this Peck Book Pursley situation. The rumor now. I mean, even freaking Chase Rodman on his videos saying, Peck to CJB in the 5 car. It's like, and the CJB 5 car is going to Outlaws. That's the rumor, and it's like silly season is somewhat amplified with the addition of the two series.
I agree. There's that, and then even like the other aspect that we were just talking about in the shop like half an hour ago is like now too, because wing racing's getting so like lucrative, and there's now guys are like, how many guys are jumping from non-wing to wing, in that side of it, and now some of the non-wings losing some of its drivers. They're all trying to figure out how they can have full-time rides over here to race for a lot more money. So I mean, like
Well, and
more
the
than
thing
ever,
is
I
with
think.
that, Tanner, not to cut you off, especially the midget drivers, they're used to bringing money to be in a car too, and that's another
Yeah,
element.
yeah, for sure. They're definitely. I was more than ever. I mean, the fact that you got two different series, you got all these, you got the different opportunities, and obviously it's kind of a domino effect. If one guy, the second that one guy's headed to a car, then that driver's looking for somewhere, and then once he's heading somewhere, then another guy's, it's in my little thing I posted because I was just talking about it. I think I have it posted. It's going to go up in like 20 minutes on my Facebook, but we're all like a bunch of hitchhikers, and everyone's just trying to beg, to get an opportunity. And then, like I said, in the wing racing world, that's the place to be right now. I mean, with what High Limit has kind of done and elevated, but not just High Limit and the Outlaws. I mean, this year the amount of high paying shows and even the money trickled down. It's pretty impressive. I mean, I think I saw a stat earlier in the season. Just the top 10 average versus the top 10 average 5 or 7 years ago. It's unbelievable. What teams have brought in. Granted, costs and stuff have went up too. That's just the world we live in. But it's pretty impressive. Like I said, what wing sprint car racing looks like. Today, it's definitely a good time to be a driver and be involved.
Well, and I was saying, it could be good to be a driver, but I was saying in my reaction to the situation is, obviously this charter system with high limits going to give a little bit more security to the team owners, by being a part of a series, some kind of revenue stream. I mean, this is kind of an imaginary thing. Everybody's kind of said it's like we don't know what the number is, but it is some kind of affiliation and security with a team or with the team and the series. And I think the problem with the driver aspect is in sprint car racing or dirt racing, it is so just off the cuff if you're in it or out of it. It is so year by year. I was suggesting to the Outlaws a couple years ago, with these platinum teams, why is it just single year platinum agreements? Why is it not 2 or 3? Obviously, high limit has went the next level, went to a charter system. So it's like you're a part of it. It's not year to year. It's like you're in it. But the drivers, they're not in multi-year contracts like your NASCAR or your NFL or anything like that. It could be 6 months or a month. There's no real job security in the situation. It seems like for the driver.
Yeah, no, there definitely isn't really. And as far as I know, I can't think of too many guys that really have had a legit contract or anything like that. A lot of it is, I mean, basically all word of mouth. Like, hey, we're gonna start racing here, and basically you race until you mutually part ways, or sometimes it's like, hey, we're gonna race till the end of the season or this and that, and then figure it out. But yeah, it's really hard to say. I don't know if I ever really see that changing, you know, too much. Maybe I don't know. Like, I feel like we're different probably compared to the NASCAR route and stuff. Is these cars definitely have, they have recognition and whatnot, a brand recognition, but like in NASCAR, obviously sometimes drivers are tied to sponsors and tied to teams, and I feel like we definitely have less of that, and then that that just makes it to where drivers, they're more of just a moving piece of the puzzle, and seeing how things click and not. And that's a lot of the game, is obviously just, some guys, they get in a team, and it's all good stuff and everything. But if you just don't mesh with all the right people, or, driver's happy and how he feels, then, things like you said, it could be 1 month and he's down the road to the next, and he goes with another operation that's all, similar good stuff and whatnot, but hey, it just gels, and then, they're winning a bunch of races. So it's a really weird deal, and it's all, I always say sprint car racing is just all combinations and stuff. But back to kind of on the topic of the charters and all that, I mean, that will also be another factor on how this all plays out. I mean, like I said, they said a lot of good things, and I think it could be a really good avenue for the owners. I mean, I think, what Brad and them, trying to, make it more lucrative for the owners is a big deal, because, it seems like we're losing car owners, faster. There's a lot more drivers, there's a lot more drivers than car owners and opportunities out there.
Well, but the only unfortunate, I guess, case for the driver once again in that scenario is most of the team owners. I mean, race winnings isn't really their main avenue of income. Usually, their main avenue of income is the business on the car. That it's like
True.
whatever that is. So it's like the driver's also in a position where this is his business. This is his make or break.
For sure. Well, I think that's maybe where those guys, they're trying to give it to where that could be an opportunity, and obviously for most of the guys in the game now, yeah, what you're saying is correct, but then maybe that could allow, more teams to have that opportunity. Because, I mean, a lot of the reason I think is because it just doesn't make as much, it doesn't make sense to be the one owning the equipment when you could just, if you're good enough, you get an opportunity to drive it. So maybe by what they're doing, that could at least help that, because realistically we need more of that. That's why now, like, you hear them talk, or in the midget world, or, how guys now are bringing a lot more money, because it just doesn't make sense to be the one to own the equipment. But, if you have some of the funding, you just bring it, then you don't have to deal with all the headache, I guess you could say, of owning it and going up and down the road and washing and maintenance, whatever. That's, like I said, that's almost his own thing. But, yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's the good part. I mean, obviously we don't know how that's all going to play out, but at least if it is a positive, and, I mean, I think Rodman had said something, just said how lucrative it's going to be, no matter if you're the champion or even if, the guy's down the line, then, hey, then maybe it makes more sense for the car owners and they can make money. And then maybe that, that can trickle down to, it just grows the sport. And I think if it grows the sport, then the drivers are going to reap the benefits too.
Yeah, and obviously NASCAR benefits hugely on OEM manufacturer support. just similarly to the midget industry. And I think sprint car racing, even though I have my conspiracy angle on it, but I do think sprint car racing is set up for, the big three to move in right now. I mean, you had Donnie develop the Ford, let's just say specifically for high limit. You had Donnie develop the Ford. Rudine, who's obviously powerhouse aligned with the high limit series with their scheduling of the big events and things along those lines. They're in there with the Ford Performance team with high limit with Zeb Wise. And then of course Chevy, pick your poison. I mean, do you want to be Jason Myers or Sweet? And then obviously Toyota. Toyota's an interesting entity. You would think like what we're talking about driver security, something like a Kofoid, for instance, at Roth, with the Toyota tab in there. Is that, a job security? Because most of the time, these bigger names in NASCAR, for instance, are under some kind of manufacturer contract that kind of dictates it
Yeah,
as well.
for sure, for sure. And I mean, that could be a good thing too, I guess. Like I said, just to add that security. Uh, you know, I feel like there's obviously been, it's been better now that we have more people in the game in that way, and I think that's always better. Competition always kind of, arises it in general. That's kind of what's happening in a lot of different aspects. So, yeah, I'm not, I don't know all the ins and outs on all of that, but I do think that could be a very positive thing. And then, like I said, that might just bring more, more money into sprint car racing if those guys are getting involved and wanting to, be here for a long time.
Well, so what's your inside scoop? Who else is moving? We know you know. Everybody talks to Tanner Holmes. Who's
Yeah,
moving? Drop the
I
news,
honestly,
Tanner. Do it. I know.
I don't,
We all know
I don't
Gravel's
know.
going high limit. We know Gravel's going high limit, right? We all know this, right?
Yeah, if that, I really, like I said, in this, I don't know the ins and outs. I kind of get him. I mean, when I'm at the track, when they were out here, you kind of hear this and that, but I'd be pretty surprised if that happened. I guess the main thing, what also determines if I'm right or wrong, but in order to get a charter right for high limit, you have to have ran both seasons, right?
Yeah, I
Like, so
believe so.
only the guys that
I'm smiling when I say the Gravel high limit, but
No, no, I know, but I mean, well, because I feel like when it first came out, that's how that worked. But obviously, if a guy could show up this year and then run top 5 in points, then it makes sense for someone to jump and if they still can get a charter. But obviously,
right.
if they can't, then but no, I've
I feel like there
heard
would
the
be a
whole tech
slippery
industry.
slope open. I feel like there would be some way that if a Gravel or a Macedo or a Sheldon, for instance, one of these marquee names that's really kind of holding the Outlaws in most people's mind as that 1A series, I feel like there would be some kind of red carpet magically appear if one of those guys wanted to go. I would think so. I mean, business sense, it makes sense,
For
right?
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, and I think so. I mean, what's really cool about it, it's just two different ways of doing it. The Outlaws have their way of doing it, and then this charter system. But as far as I think what'll just be interesting is, obviously, like you were saying, I mean, now we're going to figure out where Justin Peck's going to go. The rumor has been that he's going to the CJB5 car. Then, I'm not sure where Spencer's going to be going. You hear about. I think a lot of it determines, what the 14 car looks like next year.
Right.
And
That's a
there's
big
couple,
question mark, is it not? That one.
a, a lot of people have been talking about that. It seems like, but I mean, like who really knows? The funny thing about sprint car racing is you hear so much stuff you don't really know what to believe. But
Right.
with all the open seats, but I don't know. I feel like it kind of just determines. I guess everyone's going to be picking to go which side depending on what I guess, like I said, their own business model for their race team, and the Outlaws and their tow package and high limit and their tow package and stuff. So yeah, I don't really know, but yeah, it's like I said, I guess we'll just kind of have to wait back and see what's going to happen. I think here soon probably stuff will start to fall into place as guys start making their announcements.
Well, and I mean, I guess we could somewhat change the subject just a little bit. We could talk about what you're going to do, but I would assume, based on your level of judgment, that I mean, obviously you had a good run at Chico, but you've had some tough runs this year, and it's got to be tough a little bit to and it ain't on your fault, but there is this hype behind a Tanner Holmes. Obviously, you know it. I mean, it's built on your prowess. You have all this attention, and I have to feel like sometimes is the pressure too much? Do people expect too much out of it, or is it? Do you think it's uh, justified for people to think you should be up front every single week? And probably you wish you were too, but it just seems like it is an interesting cross sector.
Yeah, I know it is. I mean, I think a lot of things is just like one. I mean, sprint car racing is really, really hard, and I think that how we're kind of trying to do it in the perfect world that how I look at and where I want everything to be for us 5 or 10 years down the line is like we're probably doing it the hard way, right? I mean, we have our own team, our own operation. Like I mentioned, I mean, I was fortunate to run with Shark last year. That was definitely helpful, and just to get in something that was a little more proven and done it. But for us, like we're trying to build our own thing, which, is difficult, basically, I'm going to places that maybe I'd been to a couple times before when, I got to see some new tracks with those guys, but, taking my own stuff with a little bit of a fresher notebook, not as much experience, and just trying to put kind of all the pieces of the puzzle together. So, and at the 410 level, I mean, especially now, there's just so much competition. So you just have your good nights and your bad nights. But the main thing is just getting your car close and unloading with unloading with speed. For us, I mean, yeah, obviously we have all of our fans that are behind us, and it's great because, we have, most of them out there, good support and want what's best for us. And like you said, yeah, there definitely is. For me, I do always feel a little bit of pressure because I just want to do well, especially, we're at the top level, and sometimes things just don't, sometimes they go that way, sometimes they don't. But I definitely think it's easy to get yourself catching the part of trying so hard all the time. And then, like I said, at that level, it's so tough that, once you kind of get knocked down, it's hard to get back up. And you see that with even the guys that have been out there for a long time. They get in their slumps, and, you start not qualifying well, and then you're just behind the 8 ball. So
Yeah, look at gravel.
for us,
For instance, I mean, gravel was the hottest thing in the world,
yeah,
and then all of a sudden, just what happened? I mean, obviously he bounced back, but it wasn't like a slump where he was doing horrible, but it was a slump where what happened? Where did his
yeah.
dominance go?
Well, I think so. And I think it just goes to show how close everyone is nowadays. I mean, that's the thing. Everyone talks about it, but everyone's just so close. So, I mean, and guys are always trying stuff. So once, one guy finds something and it's rolling for a while, and then, the next guy finds something. So guys just go through, I mean, look at Buddy Kofoid through the West Coast. He was,
Right.
Unbelievable. He's been fast for a while, but, all of a sudden, like now, he was just winning just about every night. So, I mean, it's just, it's just really tough. And then, like I told you, we're kind of doing it the hard way, and trying to just kind of build the pieces of it. And that involves a good crew and, having someone that can help lead your team as well. But yeah, like I said, I think we've done enough in the sense of showing some speed that we can definitely do it. It's just, building consistency and then, like I said, building a good notebook as you go to different places.
And so, thinking back on that, like you said, shark opportunity. Obviously, you hadn't really. I don't think you ever been to Jackson before. Maybe once or twice. I'm not sure. I would assume no when you first got that shot in that ride.
No,
Uh,
no,
but you
I hadn't.
performed great right out of the box that night, and of course, I was on. There was all this discussion because you got into the car. Some people thought you deserved it, some people didn't. And so there was some hype around that, and you came out of the damn gate and blew the world away, and then it looked like it just kind of tapered off slowly. What happened there?
Yeah. I'm not really sure. It seemed like, we were, like you said, we were really good. I think Jackson, which I didn't know at the time, but that was like the best place that I could have started because I think that our stuff was just really good too. I mean, Jacob had a lot of success there. Logan had success there. And so right away, like things just felt really good. And then, we ran that next weekend. And then one thing I think that kind of was behind the scenes that probably wasn't seen, but that next weekend we got in a small crash and it hurt the car that we were on. Then we switched to another car for that we kind of ended up running the rest of the year. And for that, I don't know, it just didn't feel like things felt the same in general. I mean, we had some really good nights with it, don't get me wrong, but we just kind of struggled finding the consistency. And I don't know if that was just like you said, early on, like things were just really good for me. And then once it got a little bit tougher, it's like, shoot, like I said, out here on the Outlaw Tour, like I said, you're dealing with your confidence and you're trying to get going and, going to some places that, there were some places I had been, some you'd never even seen before. And so like, I think, as a team too, we were just trying to figure that out. And that's the hard part. I think in sprint car racing, a lot of times in general, people probably don't give it enough time. If I could go back and run with Shark for a year or 2 years, fully, like I said, you start to actually build something. The most successful teams in our sport, like the KKR 49, the same guys, been on that thing for, 3, 4, 5 years, and some of the, Gravel's car and stuff like that. Like, it just takes a lot of time to build things up, and you kind of go through those rough patches. And when it's earlier on, it's a lot harder. So, like I said, more than anything, it was great that I got to go and do it and see Eldora for the first time, see Williams Grove, which that place was nuts. Just, different stuff. But go to Port Royal. But, like I said, we just kind of had our good nights and bad nights, but yeah, no, definitely came out swinging. And then it just got tougher quick. And, trying to, like I said, whether it's some nights you just don't feel as comfortable, you don't feel like, we're on point, and you're just trying to make changes and communicate. But, like I said, those guys did so much good for me, and getting, like I said, everyone needs to spend as much time as they got to spend with Bobby Allen, because that guy can teach you something. So that was cool.
And did you get a taste of the lifestyle? Heck, even being a media guy, I run and gun to local stuff and this and that and the other, and I'll sometimes taper with the series for a month or whatever like that. It is a different change. A lot of the people who are full timers done it for years. It's like they feel like they're part of the circus. Load up and go to the next show. Did you ever get a taste of that kind of difference between running the 18 and here and there versus that? All right, this is where you're going to be. You got to hurry up, go, get there.
Yeah.
Type of circus lifestyle, like a backyard band of some sort.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that was, and I think that's the part that sometimes can get to you as a driver. Like I said, it's all the chaos of it, and like I said, when things aren't going as good. But yeah, no, definitely just going from track to track, and how those outlaw guys are. They run, and 15 minutes, they're 15 minutes after the checkered flag. If they can be on the road, they're on the road. So, and that was the side of it that I did like, getting to spend some of that time with the team, and and some of the crazy, I got lucky that I did also fly back and forth, so I didn't have to do all of it. But there's some of it where, like, the one weekend we were in Pennsylvania, and then they drove us back to Texas, and I think it was Kansas and Texas, and then back, for World Finals. So, just so much more traveling, too. Obviously, you're just really putting the miles down, but I think that gave me enough of a taste that showed me that I do want to do it. I'd love, I definitely, before I'm done racing, I'd love to do a full World of Outlaw tour. Like I said, just to say that you got the chance to do it, but also to be competitive. And I think one thing that's really nice, and that I learned in that 25 races that I did, is really nice running with the same group of cars over and over. Sometimes I feel like when you bounce around from a local show to a regional show to an outlaw show, like sometimes every time you show up to an outlaw show, you're like, shoot, this is a bigger race. But once you start racing with those guys all the time, and you have even your good and your bad nights, then all of a sudden it's not such a big deal when you line up next to them, right? If you're feeling good or whatever, it doesn't matter who you're up against. You're confident in your car, and you know what it's capable of.
How was the acceptance level in the pits? Was it a mixture of things? I'm sure that I say this whole sport's run on ego, and it is, but I'm sure there's some guys who, you're technically more popular than them, and it ain't for beating them on the racetrack. So how is that?
Yeah, I would say, I'm trying to think. Yeah, usually if other drivers did talk to me or whatnot, they usually do ask about what I do and all that. I never had any bad interactions. I would say that I'm probably, I don't know if it's just because I get focused at the races, or I just got so much trying to do and get things ready, and then then turn that off and then be a racer. But I probably didn't, and probably if I could do it again, I'd go a little more out of my way to talk to some of those guys. But I just, I don't know, like I said, I just get so into what I'm doing that, if usually it's at a pit meeting, or if it's just kind of when you're all in the same spot, maybe you get a chance to say something. But, mainly just since obviously Logan was my teammate, so I became really good friends with him, and super helpful. Logan's super intelligent, and knows how to make a race car go fast, and knows how to drive the damn thing. So that was really cool. But, yeah, no, I'm not really sure what they all else thought. I know that obviously with the 1T and stuff, we were very fortunate. Things were the duct tape and all that, and that just kind of blew off the charts. So that was really cool. But yeah, as far as what everyone else thought in the pits, I'm not really sure. Like I said, I got a chance, here and there, talk to people, but for the most part, kind of just did my thing, I guess.
And was there any options? I know going into the off season, you kind of did a lot of build up to what your plans would be this year. A lot of people assumed you would go high limit or one of these two. I even think I said at one point you were a hot ticket item, whichever side could get you. I mean, you do move the chip, especially if we're considering the streaming war that's out there. I mean, you move the chip on where you're going. What was that process like? Was there people interested? Did you have any opportunities you just didn't like, or what was the situation all the way through?
Yeah, so basically the original plan was to run that car through the rest of the year, and then there was talk like Bobby at one point was wanting to maybe put together a third car, so that was an option, and we talked about it several times if there was a way that maybe even if I could help a little bit, or maybe if we needed to use a few of my engines or just something, and then at the same time, those guys were obviously figuring out like what are they going to do with each of their cars, because they were presented with their own, because everyone was figuring out, are we staying on the outlaw tour? Are we going high limit racing? And what were the point funds going to be? What were the tow packages? And so yeah, that was definitely, looking back, you realize how even we think times are crazy now. It was then because there was just so much more unknown. Now at least we know what we're looking at. So Bobby was kind of maybe putting something, was talking with us, and we were trying to put something together, and then kind of just as the season ended, it just kind of, at one point it was a little bit more of a hot topic, and then, which I totally understand, it just basically became in their best interest not to put together a third car. So then I was like, all right, I need to, I got to figure out what I'm doing. And I didn't really have, any real opportunities. There was kind of one maybe out on the East Coast just to do some more like local racing in PA, but it just didn't, for me. I was like, I either want to be national racing, or I rather just do my own car and try to figure out how to get national racing with that. Because just to me, once you do all those outlaw shows, I want to win World of Outlaw races, or I want to win high limit races. Like all the other stuff in between is good. But, if I have to build someone else's program up, even just being a part of it as a driver, I might as well, I feel like, build that. Yeah, I guess you could use the word investment in my own stuff. Then you at least your seat's not getting thrown out in the middle of the pit area of, your own car. You have that. So you have that trust and everything. So anyway, we were trying to figure out, we definitely talked with both series and got all the agreements and all the paperwork, just to see. But for us, like we just, unfortunately, our own program wasn't in a spot where it was probably best for us to go do it. The only reason it's really good for us to go do it would just be the for sure, the guaranteed money, as I call it, guaranteed money with a point fund, the tow. At least you're going racing, you're for sure going to get this, and then anything else can, keep building. But it's, like I said, we ultimately probably just weren't ready, and we're still working on trying to get ready and see if like, hey, next year's maybe the year that we could do it. But it's tough, man. Once you send your stuff on the road, I mean, just, especially us, we're out here on the West Coast. So like, it's not like we're in Knoxville, Iowa, and we can travel every direction. We're out here. We got to get, we're 3,000 miles from the other side. So, until we kind of get some of that figured out, that made it really difficult. But, I think looking back, if something maybe would have ended up working, maybe we would have had a third shark car, but that just, just didn't end up being a possibility.
Was either side trying to shop you really hard? Like, did High Limit try to give you some? I know when Rico, it was, and the only reason I think of this is I know when Rico, when he did his little announcement that he was going to go high limit, he kind of spoke like he had a deal that was a little different than everybody else's. It came across that way.
Gotcha.
Did you
Yeah.
get any kind of special advancement or somebody saying, hey, well, we could do this for you or that for you? Or I know Brad's a real good communicator, so I could imagine.
Yeah, I didn't have anything presented to me, and I don't know if that was, maybe if I would have pushed harder, maybe that would have been a possibility, or maybe they thought like, yeah, these guys aren't going to make it. I don't know. But no, I was nothing special was, handed our way or nothing.
Wow. Do you get any special treatments? I heard some rumors this year that ASCS was coming for you. They want you to be the main ASCS guy next year or something like that. That as they're rebuilding that
Oh,
series. Rumors,
yeah.
obviously, but
Yeah, for sure. I don't. Yeah, I mean, that's the first time I had heard that one. But I mean, I don't get me wrong. I think both series do love having us, and I mean, we just like some of the other teams. Maybe they give us some pit passes or whatever, and we're very appreciative of that. Little things like that, not being a full time team, it all kind of helps. But I think definitely if something like that came about, we would try to jump on it. Like I said, it's when you have your, probably like I told you, what we're doing is the hardest thing to do, right? Running your own show, your own program, your own equipment. But like in the long run, you see some of the best operations in sprint car racing, or, like you mentioned Rico or whatever, Rico has an unbelievable operation, kind of, did it that way. So I feel like there's a lot of, like I said, even though it's a harder route, there's a lot of potential with it.
Well, and you and Rico are pretty comparable as far as moving the chip. At least I would think in numbers a little bit. He's obviously probably the most popular driver we got outside of a Larson, which technically isn't a full time sprint car guy. But who knows? Rico could even be close to him, honestly, with his organic
Yeah.
reach that he's obtained.
Absolutely. No, and he does, does a phenomenal job. Rico's done a lot for sprint car racing. And so, yeah, nothing but good things there, what he has done. And then also the driver that, what's really impressive is how he does that. And he's also one of the best drivers at the same time. So,
Well, and there was questions about that. What was it, like 2-3 years ago? He got into the Silva 57, and the jokes of he was more worried about selling shirts than winning races. I mean, he wasn't really on the chip like he has been here in the last couple years,
Yeah, you get that, and that's kind of, that is the side of with social, is obviously you're gonna, no matter what, if it seems like if a driver does start dabbling more in, like you said, doing shirts or promoting, or just trying to take more of a stance with their social media, and then they don't run well, then that's usually the backlash that they get. So that's and it's unfortunate that it's like that, because I don't see that as the case, obviously, with what I do, but that's just that's how people look at it. And like I said, you can have the best weekend of your life, and then the next week, if you run 21st, it's because you did this, and this. So it's just that's kind of the world we live in, unfortunately.
Yeah, and back to performance in a way, you as you were saying, you're a small team, or not a small team. I think this gets confused with you. Are you a small team? Because I would assume you have really good equipment. Maybe it is just a little family team, but there's differences between a small family team and a well-equipped team, and I just don't. I wouldn't. If
No,
somebody asked me, I wouldn't say Tanner Holmes is a small team, technically.
yeah, no, I think that's probably a fair way of putting it. Yeah, I would say we're a family-owned team, I would say, though, but yeah, no, definitely, we do have good equipment, and have worked every season to get better and stronger equipment. But yeah, no, our stuff, like, I think the car that's sitting in my shop right now is capable of winning a high limit or a World of Outlaw race, and it is capable with myself, or if you put some other guys in it, it probably is, with the right setup and the right, all the factors involved. So yeah, no, I definitely wouldn't say in that sense. And we've been able to grow too, just get, like I said, the last like 2 years for us has been really crucial, and the opportunity I had last year put me on the map to where I could get some of that help.
Right. And when you see people sponsor you, like the Boss, for instance, I believe that's a Texas company.
Yeah, yes, sir.
And you got companies from across the country. What is their kind of, I guess you could say, expectation or return on investment in sponsoring a car on the other side of the country, for instance? What is the idea in that? Is it a fan thing, or is it, how are you perceiving it, or how are you selling it, I guess?
Yeah, well, so usually a sponsorship, even if it is someone that is on the other side of the country, like those guys, like we did have our little swing where we went through Texas at the beginning of the year, and in a perfect world, we would have been able to run down there a little bit more. It just happened that it's at the beginning of the year, and then like all the way about now is when the national scenes are down there. But I think obviously the chance for that small amount of time to be in front of their people. But other than that, I think it's just the power of social media. And that's, I know that sounds very basic, but it is true. We have fans just like some of these other drivers have fans everywhere. And so, I think more than anything, it's the content that we can create for them, but also content that they can then go and use, and how they're, a part of a race team and a part of a car. And, we obviously try to do all we can to, like I said, to make stuff not just for us, but for them to use, that they can, for their business and for promotion and stuff like that. So, like, we had fans, in surrounding states that traveled down to Dallas, where those guys were located, and supported them, or, DZ, they're more of a big company, in Iowa, but, ship all around the United States and the world. So, I think like a lot of it is just, nowadays people that aren't as glued into social media don't realize the power of, even though we're not all in the same spot, what you can do. Just like with your show, there's probably people that watch from all over, so.
Yeah, Australia now. We added that to the list, Are you going to Australia? There has to be people trying to get you over there. There has to be.
I'm working on it.
And it's
Yeah,
getting
whether,
hot
I'm
now. High limits going.
yeah.
Everybody, it's the hot girl in town now for the off season.
No, I'm working on it. I really do want to go over there. I really do. It's on my bucket list.
What is it lacking?
Like
We can make this. We can make this still happen right now. What is it lacking?
I think I have my most promising lead so far. So it's not really lacking anything. I think the hard part is throughout the years. The only thing about Australia is more, you don't always know who you're talking to, right? Unless I know there's probably a few really big car owners over there, but because like even before, if you want a funny story for this, like I've been catfished before. It was like 2 years ago. And I don't know if that's probably just with my social media. People think it's funny to try to mess with me, but it was 2 or 3 years ago. I had a guy call me from New Zealand and, basically pitched, like we talked on the phone 5 or 6 times, setting everything up. Like I was about to get my passport and I was going to go over there and run all these races and stuff. And then the guy fell off the face of the earth. So, so you have situations like that, where, like I said, I basically like, almost just about everything was in line, minus things were, booked. We were just about to that, but like talked on the phone, planned it out. Like he had stuff being built right then and there. And then, basically it was all a big prank or something. So, you just stuff like that.
And that's the last time you were in position to go that direction, that situation?
No, that was one of the first times I was inquired. But basically what I'm saying is just that happened, and then I was like, okay, I guess I really need to be careful who I'm, basically like I said, make sure you're not getting catfished. But and then I had a few other that, just weren't super serious, like, hey, maybe we could do something if, we had this, if we had that, some sponsors, kind of all that. But I'm working on it right now. I think I might have one that's, the most promising yet. And that would be, that'd be really cool. I'd like, because for me, I'd really like to go over and do all those races. Obviously, Australia seems like, has an amazing amount of fans. It seems crazy honestly, over there, it seems like in some ways it's bigger than here in places. So,
well, Perth is definitely a big different area. I would say Perth is probably it's and the distance between the racing scenes is almost like the distance between populations over there. Obviously, you got the stuff down there in Premier, Warrnambool, which would be like, like if you looked at it on a map, like the Warrnambool area would be Texas, Perth would be California, and then like high-tech Toowoomba and all that. Sydney is like PA. Like these are the gaps between the three racing scenes. Perth is probably the most prestige, like as far as it's the classier. And no disrespect, but it's got the big track. It's got everything going. It's got the oil or mining industries over there. It's a lot of money over there. There's usually not any off-funded teams. But the other areas have their class as well. I'm just saying that's probably the more bougie area would be the Perth area.
Gotcha. Well, I was going to ask you, what is Perth like? Would you say Perth is the nice? Because I've always heard that Perth is the nicest facility in the world.
It's the Taj Mahal, man. You go to the back of the baddest ass part is you go to the back of the grandstands and you turn around and you're on the starting grid of a drag strip, and then you look across the way, you're on a beach.
Wow.
And when George Strait says oceanfront property in Arizona, it's a joke, but we have dry heat over here in like Arizona, for instance. And then most of our coastal areas are very humid. They're not dry. And over there in Perth, for instance, it's a dry heat. So it's literally like oceanfront property in Arizona. It's just insane. The downtown area is built up, well established. It's just the most professional level of racetrack. And they race everything all the time. They do drag strips, dirt racing. They do rallycross that races on the dirt track to the drag strip and through the parking lot. I mean, it's up there as far as like, died and gone to racing heaven. That's like the perfect little corridor, but The only negative of Perth is it is a little corridor. It's over there, and that's about it. Everything else is thousands of miles away.
Yeah, there's not like there's only like one other track or something, right? There's
Yeah,
two
Bunbury.
tracks.
Yes.
Gotcha. Dang.
So you better love it because it's all
Yeah.
you got. You know.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, like I said, want to make that happen. Yeah, I mean, I think Perth's 100,000 to win show is going to be. I mean, just from like I said, from a distance, seeing it all that place looks like. I mean, honestly, I feel like it could be one of the top 5 in the world. Just that race they had last year with Brad and Colum and all them. Like it's just So that will be a good one.
Yeah, it will be. And they always been trying to reestablish some kind of World Series. Used to be their like national series they ain't had in a while. And it's a weird deal, even though this high limit deal over there is like a nice thing. Like Wade Onger had just worked and put together all this stuff to do a little speed week in the Texas region, and they put this high limit event on the same dates as that speed week that he created. So I don't know if that's like it's like a mini outlaw versus high limit, but that's the only thing they lack is national structure. They don't really have a national series, and it's kind of combative when they had Wade trying to do something to get close to a situation where all the best could be there for a week and race one another, and then the high limit date got added. They also just put a new track in, kind of not in between Perth and Warrnambool, but it's somewhat in between is that Tolmer Speedway. I know you probably seen videos of that one. It's supposed to look like I-55 or whatever.
Yeah, no, I did see that. So that makes sense. Now that kind of helps piece some of it together. I see, because I see guys go over and do that speed week, but that's obviously down there, and then now high limits on top of it on the other side of the country, basically.
And they've always had dates on the other side of the country. It's just they were trying to do something different. And it was supposed to be all kumbaya, but obviously the high limit date being on top of it now is not going to allow the kumbaya to occur. But the distance is supposed to be the difference, kind of like when Skagit has their big race and Houston has theirs or something, two separate sides.
For sure.
But
for sure. Are you going down there again?
I don't know. It is a lot of money to go over there, and I am not a money man. And I used a lot of credit cards to make the first go happen. I'm still making up for that. So unless a deal comes along, it's worth it. It is worth it. But it is spendy. That's why I spent so much time over there. I spent almost 3 months on the date over there because I was like, yeah, this costs so much to do. I'm going to get all I can.
Absolutely. No, I don't blame you. That's cool.
Yeah, but I just can't believe you ain't lined up. I thought you would have said, yeah, I got to choose from this guy or that guy I'm picking right now. I can't believe that you don't have something lined up. I could have made this happen a while ago. I don't know how this is a question mark.
I know. Well, maybe you'll have to help me. But yeah, I think, like I said, hopefully something that in the next couple weeks will be ironed out or finished up, or I don't know. We'll see. So, but yeah.
Well, future of the sport. I did want to talk to some. I had to recheck my bullet points here. I kind of do have a few, but this was one I wanted to talk with you about. Obviously, you're invested into sprint car racing. That is what your career path is. I would assume going to be. That's where all this time, not just money, but time has been spent and invested into you being a sprint car driver and operator and all this stuff. Where do you think the future in safety should go? Obviously, you had the Angelique Bell with the fuel cell over there. We've had a couple fuel cell issues. We just had the Chase Johnson deal, and it was so sad to me. Me and Chase Johnson have always, it's weird as hell. Like, me and Chase Johnson have run into each other in the weirdest spots. Like, I'll go to wash my car somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and there he is washing his. It's just so random. Same thing happens with me and Kenny Wallace. I remember one time I ran into Kenny Wallace at like 3 a.m. at a Taco Bell. But regardless,
that's cool.
Yeah, it was weird. I went to the pavilion, for instance, at the Gold Cup this year, and Chase Johnson, me run into each other as he goes in there and does his interview, surprisingly, with Kenny Wallace. And then what happens to him happens to him. I went up there to your neck of the woods, kind of. I did my Triple X shop tour. Obviously, they had their issues earlier in the year with Bill Baylog, but I was more so curious about, some kind of chassis innovation. There just is not room in these cars. There's not room for when shit goes
Yeah,
bad. You don't have nowhere to go.
for sure. No, and I watched that video that you did with Colton there because we run triple X's and stuff, and honestly, I don't really have a lot minus like I just agree with a lot of what he said. Like, I mean, he's right. Like, we don't have a lot of room. We try to, and as we do things to make stuff better, like like you mentioned the full, and I never thought of it that way. Like, you make your full containment seat, and now your arm's sticking out the side of the car. Now you have less room in the cockpit, so you have stuff like that. I mean, I definitely think that obviously we have to look at something with the with the rear end coming up and having that chance to hit the seat. I did not know, I guess, and maybe you touch on it again, but like, I guess I didn't realize that in Australia they have a lot stricter rules.
Yeah, that bar
They're
he
not,
described, that Australian bar that I guess Shark Racing ran him. I guess that little loop at the bottom.
and maybe, and so, so I feel like that there's, maybe that is the route that we go. I just think something definitely has to be different. I mean, I don't think there's ever a perfect solution. Obviously, if it's, I hate to, like, if it's your time or like something, if the stars align, like, sometimes you're never going to avoid those situations. But yeah, we definitely, I think we have to at least be open-minded. I mean, and like you said, if the cars were just a little bit longer and a little bit wider, honestly, that would fix a lot of it. But unfortunately, that's probably not going to happen. So I don't know what the next step is for that, but I definitely think that, and I don't know if it really falls on us as a team or if maybe, like I said, High Limit and Outlaws, they need to get together and kind of put their foot down on some of it. I know they've talked about the fuel tanks and all that, but something's just got to be different, in a couple different ways, a couple areas we could see some growth, for the safety of what's going on.
Yeah, and I mean, in the post of that Angelique Bell situation, I had a guy named Mark Chevalier on here, and he tried to develop a new tank. And he's done a lot of science stuff. He's on that Sprint Car Council. He's an engineer, and he alluded to how, and I didn't know this. He alluded to how there's not one SFI certified sprint car tank in the whole entire
Really?
industry. No, there's not one. I went and researched. There's not one SFI certified fuel
Wow.
tank on these rocket ships. Did you just hear what I said?
Yeah.
I mean, there's one
No,
tank. There's
absolutely.
one tank that is FIA certified from ATL. It's their most expensive, but it's the lowest, like, base level degree of certification there is in the world. It's like the lowest. And
Gotcha.
to know that we have rocket ships and this is the other element. The design of the sprint car is flawed in a lot of ways. I mean, you don't have these issues in other sports like late models and things just because they're encased behind a chassis and all this stuff. They're in the car somewhere that it can't, be impacted. I mean, the tail tank of these cars are literally on an impact point of one of the most wild, dangerous race cars to ever exist.
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, absolutely. It really is crazy, and there even some stuff in that, that you were saying, like, us as drivers and stuff, you just don't think about, or you don't know. And I think it was, maybe it was Colton that said that in that video, but he's right. The problem is the teams and stuff are the worst enemies in the sense of that if it doesn't go fast, if it's not the lightest, we're like, guys might try something for a week or experiment with this, but they all end up back, in the way that, whatever was proven to win races. And so I think that's the tough part of it. So I feel like if there was a way that we could take what we got now it definitely, it needs to be modified, but like I said, like, how do you, I don't think there'll ever be a day where, like I said, the sprint car frame or the chassis and all that's much different.
Well,
Unfortunately,
that's the advantage of Australia. They have that government. They have a government that, and it's insurance based. It's all insurance. Of course, insurance has their tentacles and everything, but they have a governing body that is insurance based regardless. But they set certain stipulations to be able to race. That's legal and not legal. And I think in America, we're still Wild West in a way. Over there, I mean, you got to go get a physical or at least get a pardon of a physical to even get in the race car. Over there, if you're in the grandstands and you buy a beer with the pit pass on, they cut it off. I mean, there's just certain levels of acceptance when you have a governing body. And the unfortunate thing to the high limit outlaw deal is the Outlaws was maybe the closest thing we could have had to that. And now to make any changes, we got to have a discussion like it's the freaking House and the Senate or something.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I do think what Australia's doing from, like I said, I wasn't aware as much of how things. I mean, I know you always hear about Speedway and all that, but I do think that is the way to go. I mean, my honesty, and I think that's something like that needs to be, here in America, and I think that would be, I think that'd be huge, and it would change the game, for what we got going. I do think that there needs to be a higher expectation, would be maybe the right word for what we do, and things need to be held to a little bit of a higher standard. I do think that it's very common that things happen and, everyone's kind of just, I don't want to say turns the other way, but it's like, oh, that was just a freak deal, or that was this, there's not, not some of the things that, and need to be taken serious and need to have done. So.
Yeah, and that bled into the culture over there, I think, as well. Me and a driver was having a conversation about this, and he's like, "Yeah, man, the fans are just so into it, and uh, there's really not this like class gap in the grandstands." And I think it had to do a lot with people just weren't drinking as much. It seems like sometimes over here, I feel like people go to the races just to have somewhere to go down to 12 pack or something. When you
Yeah.
But over there, that was not the case as much. It was more so you just went to the race because you enjoyed the sport.
For sure. No, we definitely need more of that. That's like even an interesting topic because, I feel like, at least from what I see from a distance, like whenever I go out to the Midwest and I get to go out there, or even when I was in Pennsylvania, it feels to me like what I guess it feels like you're describing in Australia. But, out here, like on the West Coast, we struggle, I think, more, getting those fans in the stands and having people interested in sprint car racing. So like, that's one thing that we experienced, recently on these West Coast swings, seeing how it was all going to play out versus like how the high limit crowds were, how were, the outlaw crowds. And, but yeah, no, more than ever, we need people that are involved in wanting it to, wanting it to be better and have hard-earned money to spend on what we do, so yeah, no, it's tough nowadays, filling up the stands like we need, on a consistent basis.
Well, and that is the one thing I always bring up when people bring up driver quality. They always say PA versus California, and it's honest that California has a lot of damn good hitters. I think those short tracks breed a aggressive style of driving that you need to succeed when you jump onto these national scenes. But the one thing that PA definitely has on California is fans. You're a celebrity in PA if you are a prestigious or a high level driver. In California,
For sure.
you could be the best driver in the world, and you may have 5 people at your trailer after the race. I mean, it's night and
You're not wrong.
day as far as fan involvement. I mean, that's the one thing that is killing California is y'all just don't have the fans.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's hard to build big events, and that's one thing that, like, we've been, that's one thing I at night sometimes I lose sleep thinking about, like, man, it's crazy how out here for some reason we just struggle to get the people in the grandstands. Like I said, we experienced it this year a little bit. Some of these races that we go to and we're like, man, there's just like there's no way that the promoter
You can't say
made
that
money
about Douglas County, though. You can't say that about Douglas County.
No,
Your
no,
people
I'm
showed
not.
up for you.
Absolutely. And so there were situations like that, but that was also, in a spot, luckily, where like there hadn't been, a lot of sprint car racing. So yes, no, there's definitely been some wins. I mean, don't get me wrong. Douglas County, I think, had to have been one of the biggest wins on the high limit schedule, I think, for a one
You
single
caused
day
people
show.
to get tickets for parking on the side of the road out there. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yes. I mean, and don't get me wrong, like Skagit's got a good fan base and stuff, but yeah, and I would say, yeah, if I were to single it out a little more, I mean, California probably specifically out of the 3 states out here. And I think honestly, Oregon and Washington are just probably not on that level yet because they don't have enough sprint car racing. So at least when the sprint cars are there, like the people know they got to show up. But California has some more racing. But yeah, and I don't know what needs to be what needs to be different. But that's the hard part. It's just hard to build big events really out here. Besides, like we got Trophy Cup in a couple weeks, which that's just been around forever. They've done a good job with it. And they tried to have the Dennis Roth race, which was great. It was a lot of money. trying to build that event, and then Skagit's got their thing. But, we just don't have as much out here, and we got Dirt Cup and stuff. Like I said, a lot of that Skagit, what they're doing, they're really pushing, trying to be like a Knoxville out here. But we just need more we need the West Coast to, I don't know, like I said, I don't know what it's going to take. It's it's the hardest job being a promoter and trying to figure it out, especially for some reason we just can't get the people.
Well, I mean, my theories on that go back to the perception of what it is. We are in America where we want to see the NFL. We don't show up for XFL, or any subdivision. And that's why I say, I mean, I go after NASCAR and say the manipulation of what that is to what we are, because most people just look at it as flag football. I think personally, they, the pros are on my TV screen. The amateur pros who weren't good enough to make it to that TV screen are down the street at the YMCA. I think that is a perception, personally. I thought it was hilarious when Max Verstappen and Kyle Larson was being, compared. It's like Max Verstappen could not keep up in a 360 at Chico with our sprint car guys. It's just that to me, and I was in promotion before I even got to talking, but I got to talking because I started realizing how important general perception of what this sport is matters as far as people coming and seeing it and paying to watch it.
Absolutely. No, and honestly, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, like especially when I first listened to some of your stuff, I didn't realize what you were saying when it all clicked in my head. Like I agree. Like a lot of, what we do and stuff, a lot of it is about perception and stuff. People don't realize that 10 minutes from their house, they could be watching. Even some of the guys out here, you go to a KWS show, you live 10 minutes from the track, you're watching some of the top, in the top 10% maybe, or 5% of sprint car drivers in the entire world. There's just, that's just how it is. Out here in California, even our weekly stuff, it's really, really tough. And same goes if you live there in PA or you live in Knoxville, or, people don't realize the talent in wing sprint car racing. And I don't know how you necessarily change that. I don't know. I don't know if it's so tarnished that that's just a long road or what. But yeah, I think if the world saw us differently for sure, then, there's no reason that we shouldn't have a sprint car race or something with 100,000 people at it, right? Or something. There
Right.
could be something like that. There's enough people and there's enough, if people knew what they were watching, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and that's basically what I'm talking about. A lot of people don't understand, the money aspect of motorsports. They think there is some kind of imaginary tryout session where, Tanner Holmes and Haley Deegan, for instance, competed at 14 and she was just better than you and moved on. They don't understand the monetary aspect that puts a driver in a sprint car at a local racetrack versus a driver in a Cup Series vehicle or an Xfinity or an ARCA even, and NASCAR's doing their job in marketing themselves as they're the best. And I think sometimes in sprint car racing, we fail in trying to market as the best. We see a Corey Day as a success story. I mean, but that's also the Corey Day example is also supporting the ideology that this sport is a step down because he is stepping up.
For sure. I totally agree with that. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that, and I think it comes down to maybe. I know this isn't necessarily just a simple fix or nothing, but I think even nowadays that we, have some more content and people are just pushing, with what even Flow does and Dirt Vision and just getting more of it out there. For a while you couldn't watch much sprint car stuff, right? Like it wasn't in the what you would say the mainstream or whatever, just on your phone. And now at least we have more of that. We have more people talking about what's going on in breaking news and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I think little things even that helps make sprint car a little more official. And, like I said, it should be no different than ESPN, realistically.
Do you think you're a part of that? Do you think that you kind of, and I say this about everybody, Tanner, not just you, but Tanner Holmes, Hunt the Front. These were guys who, even you could say Dirt Tracker, for instance. I was spending my time on Facebook while he was building his YouTube, but you go look at their original videos. I mean, I'm sure there's Tanner Holmes videos that you came out with that are a couple hundred views. You got in on the game.
Yeah.
extremely early, and now you're
Yeah,
leading that pack in this aspect
yeah,
of the
no,
sport.
for sure. And I'm not saying every driver needs to be a vlogger or whatever you want to call it, but I just think that, yeah, I think that that's huge. I really, really do. I mean, now more than ever, yeah, there's more people creating here on YouTube, more people on Facebook, but honestly, where we're even at is still so low in some ways compared to where we could be. So yeah, no, that's exactly why I do what I do. And like I said, I think luckily, I think more people are seeing the value in it and know that, maybe it's, I don't want to say like they need to do it, but I think that is part of it, especially nowadays. Like I said, it's just so tough to get noticed. It's so tough to get out there, so tough to get sponsorship. I mean, everyone wants to hold on to their dollar nowadays. I get it. We're about to go into, times that are just unknown in the world. And so, people don't have as much to spend. So yeah, I just think that in general, it's really important to have that. And, even where we're at now, I think there's still plenty of room in the space for more. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know how that necessarily gets us out of, the spot we're in, where, like you said, we're looked down upon a little bit, and dirt racing's not, it's kind of just your Saturday night flag football game. But I think it's at least the first step, then in just telling the people what sprint car racing is. And I think there's plenty of people out there that have no idea anything about our sport, but would probably be plenty fascinated if they did know.
Well, but it does have too many tentacles. I was saying on my show the other day, and it's what I mean by that is we're kind of talking about marketing the sport. Tanner Holmes is busy marketing Tanner freaking Holmes. There's supposed to be
Yeah, yeah,
somebody involved marketing sprint car racing in their sport, and those. I said this as well is that's the responsibility of the World of Outlaws and or now High Limit. That's their job. So if we're
for
not
sure.
being pushed and people are unknown, and this is kind of where I was giving a hand up for High Limit, at least giving it a shot. Because if we're to this point and the World of Outlaws have been here all these years, they're the ones that are responsible for the sport not being marketed correctly. So why not give? I was saying at the time, why not give Brad Sweet a shot at trying to do it? With High Limit, but the tentacles. Boxing wasn't invested in the UFC when it was some little thing. They would have never allowed UFC to overtake boxing as the number one combat sport in America. And that's the only issue with High Limit is I think it has a little NASCAR tentacle there with Larson. So why would you want the sport to overtake or even rival NASCAR or big time motorsports when it's got an investor in there who's tentacled?
Yeah. No, you are right, and that's where, yeah, it is a very tall. It's a tall task, and that's where it's like it's so much to unpack and figure out, what would need to be the next steps and stuff. But I do agree. I think we all, honestly, it comes down to we all have our responsibilities. Like, World of Outlaws have theirs, High Limit has theirs, and then each of us as a driver do have ours. Because as much as, yes, like you said, we're not necessarily building sprint car racing, or like with what I do. I mean, I'm trying to, but building Tanner Holmes, but also you're just building, like I said, you're building all that. You're building your personality and that, and I think all that adds to sprint car racing, and each driver has, like I said, their own responsibility in doing that, and that creates, that creates those moments and those rivalries, and like I said, builds on top of this entire thing. But yeah, like I said, I guess we just all got to try to, do our part, and then, have more people that are too kind of on the outside, like doing like the shows that you do, or, you mentioned Dirt Tracker or the Rodman Rundown, all that. I think that contributes heavily too, because it just, like I said, it kind of helps bridge the gap in between races, keeps people talking, the news, all that. So.
Do you think we get stuck in a bubble sometimes though? I think that is a big deal. I did some politically flared videos just to kind of broaden the audience, give another perspective, especially with cats and dogs being eaten apparently. But in the element, I'm like, okay, well, I could do this content, say what I say, think what I think, and then potentially bring in a political person into seeing, oh, well, what's this other guy? What else does he talk about? Or, if I was to do a football video or just any of these other topics or discussions. But it seems like every time you try to spread out this sport a little bit, and I think this goes back to race car safety as well, as far as changing the dimensions on the car. It seems like this sport does have a big bubble of traditionalism, if that makes any sense, that you can get caught into from time to
Yeah.
time.
No, absolutely. I definitely would agree with that. I think that, yeah, there's a lot. especially obviously, and I think that maybe some of that was just, and like I said, it's no fault of them own, but maybe the generation, I don't even know how the generations go back, but like the older people that are involved in our sport, right? They just were used to doing it that way for so long. And I think it just trickles down from there, where I feel like now, even, outside of racing, even, kids nowadays, or, the younger people are kind of all about change, or just all about, they're not afraid to, right. That's just how we grew
Listen
up.
to rap
So,
music. They're not afraid, I mean.
Whatever, yeah, however it is. But I think that that's where sprint car racing is probably in a stage where it might be about to change, and hopefully for the better, just because it's, like I said, you're having more people involved that seem to be more, I think there's just more open-mindedness now more than ever, which is a good thing. You need that in business. I think that obviously if you do the same thing forever and ever and ever, then, you either, sometimes it works, but sometimes, other things happen. So I don't know. It's really hard to say, but I definitely would agree that we, have been in a bubble, and it's good for things to change, and hopefully that helps. And then this newer generation also takes it and runs with it.
Well, and then of course out there, on your side of the country, you got so much talent in the 410s and the 360s. It just seems to go unnoticed. I just saw a commenter talk about Justin Sanders this last weekend at Chico. How hard is it to get out of that bubble over there? And I say there's a bubble within a bubble when you talk about the West Coast. It does seem like you're on an island, not just distance wise, but culture, what's happening, who's winning, what's even going on. It's almost like a mini Australia.
No, for sure. I mean, yeah, like I always tell people, like the talent out here is unbelievable. It's just you don't see it at a big 410 race. It's just, like I said, you can go to Ocean Speedway or Placerville on a Saturday night, and you'll see guys, Golubic and Sanders, and guys that have ran really well with High Limit in the World of Outlaws, or Justin was really good on the West Coast swing. I think he was on the podium several nights. So, and then that's who you got to race against on a weekly basis for your $2,000 or $3,000 to win shows. And yeah, I think that's how we have got stuck in that bubble, is because, like I said, it's been hard to build big events. So if you're out here, you're basically running KWS or to fill in. They have a pretty good schedule, and they've actually done a good job building it. And, we got some more races than normal, but to still run, 50 races, you gotta spend 20 of them, I feel like, at like I said, a Saturday night 360 race, or, travel around. And California is not always the most fun state to travel through either. On top of that, you're going from down there all the way, up to Washington, Oregon. There's some opportunity, but yeah, it's really hard to say. I feel like the West Coast, unfortunately, I think I finally kind of just accepted that probably how it is out here is just how it's going to be. And like I said, just for a variety of reasons, not that there's anyone that necessarily did something super wrong or not. It's just, like I said, the fan base is trying to get fans to come out, and just what sprint car racing has turned into. It just seems like it's going to be really hard to dig it out of that hole, like we were talking about earlier. Right. So, and I think that's why, unfortunately, guys are just trying to get out. If you can get out and get that opportunity and go to the Midwest, and maybe if we could have our own big events out here and have our own Pennsylvania, then guys wouldn't be doing that. But the problem is, the perception is always been like, you got to get out of California, which right. Hey, that's just how it is. So,
and that's why that's why your drivers dominate the Outlaws and the national tours. They're out there, they're leaving, and that's also why you don't see a lot of them on the PA, out of the PA bracket on the national tours, because they're happy where they're at.
Exactly. Yeah. No, absolutely. And so that's just kind of how it is. It's totally unfortunate that's how it is, because when you actually look at the racetracks that we got and how some of them are set up, like, there's total potential in that perfect world. Pennsylvania just has they have tracks, but like, California's got a good amount of tracks. And like I said, you head north, there's some tracks up this way too, but like, we got some of that, and we do have people that love sprint car racing. It just doesn't, I don't know, we just don't have enough. And so
it's the cartel.
And then on that, yeah. So that on top of, and in California, it's its own deal. It's its own set of racing out here. And I think the people that are just out here that do race all the time are pretty content with it. And you kind of have most of the guys that are just kind of content, excited to race out here. And then you have the few guys that are trying to break through and get out and get some opportunity.
Well, and I think personally, I think it did hurt, even though Sanders and all those guys are good over there, that I don't think a local won a high limit or outlaw race at all. Off the top of my head,
yeah,
I don't think they won one.
That might. that might be correct. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think, I mean,
Even though, like,
I'm not sure,
Kofoid's from there, technically, I think that's why he went on a hot streak, too. He finally got the tracks he knew, but he's from there. Y'all got guys from there who won, but no one there won.
No, definitely. Yeah, no, then in this topic like that, it's hard then, to compare us to a Pennsylvania or something where you have out there, those guys upset the Outlaws, a couple times this year or something. But yeah, so it's, that definitely makes it difficult. I don't know, for whatever reason, it just felt like the West Coast swing this year just seemed even that much harder. And I don't know if it was just having more full-time guys on some of the series, but yeah, no, obviously the full-time regulars kind of came in and cleaned house.
I know this is going to be off topic. I was curious on your opinion of late model racing in the fendered world. I think it does operate differently. Even in the stardom department, I still stand firm that all of our sprint car stars are second fiddle to a Larson, for instance. Where over there in the late model world, that's not the case. Their stars are their stars. They're the guys.
Yeah, no.
You go up in there and win a big time late model race, and you got the fame of a Larson.
For sure. No, I mean, the late model world is fascinating. I only have ever really been to one real late model race when I got to go to World Finals last year, but I don't know, I guess I've heard how you've described it a little bit, but like, yeah, what they're doing over there is it's amazing, because you can just tell even in the numbers of late model stuff, I mean, you mentioned Hunt the Front. I mean, their content does very, very well. They make great content, but I mean, like, the amount of views they pull on average, just because there's that many late model fans. There's just people that want to see see that
right.
stuff. So
broke Eldora attendance record.
Yeah. I mean, even that, and I was like, I saw that, and I was like, wow, when we were there for the King's Royal and the other 100K to win race, whatever. Like, I mean, I'd never really been much before, but I was like, this has got to be almost full. So the fact that the late model deal did that, I don't know. Like, the fact that late model racing does have that is crazy. And I mean, obviously they do have a good product. It's not a bad product, but I mean, man, I feel like, I don't know. I just, I feel like sprint car racing is just a little bit better, but yeah, I don't know how we get to that point. And how they can pay so much consistently for a lot of different shows. I mean, there'll be shows against each other that both pay well consistently, it seems like, or regional races that, do well. And it just seems like they have plenty of people that show up.
Yeah, and it's the fan. I think it's back to perception, even within our dirt world. It blew my mind when I saw Larson's trailer next to Davenport's and it's empty, and Davenport's is around the corner, because I know you've been to them where if Larson's trailer's there, it's tanking everyone else in the sprint car merchandise row. It's just destroying them. But I think they got a lot of things going on, just different as far, like I said, just straight up perception. I'm curious though, have you received any offers to drive a super late model, and would you? Have you drove any fender deals or had offers to drive any one-offs? I know you play in the outlaw cart, but what about the fendered world?
I have no, nothing.
Like, could you imagine you driving a Hunt the Front late model? How big that would be, Tanner. This is what I'm thinking. I'm the marketing guy. This is what I'm saying.
Well, I do appreciate that. Yeah, I actually, I had always thought about that, and I feel like I maybe did talk to those guys just briefly for a second, and we had mentioned, if you're ever, if we're ever close, like, definitely, they're obviously on the other end of the world, but I absolutely would. I've always wanted to drive a late model. I mean, late model or modified, any of that stuff. I mean, what, like I said, what even the modified deal is interesting to me too, because like I was just watching the Super Nationals a little bit, and that seems like such a big deal. Some of these other series do have these hidden gems with these big events, and it's like, man, if sprint car racing could, use some of that, or do the same thing, that would be good. So I don't know. I definitely want to drive a late model one day. It doesn't help. I'm also from the West Coast, which is where there is no late model racing. So,
right. You have to fly out. I just think that would be a promotional dream if you was to able to get into a Hunt the Front car. I mean, I guess they had Cletus McFarlane in one. That's pretty huge. But in our little dirt bubble, I guess you could say that would probably be one of the biggest pairings ever.
No, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's something we're working towards. And I do want to do more stuff like that. I want to branch out and drive, I definitely feel like I've gotten very focused on, I've just basically ran wing sprint cars, did the Chili Bowl a little bit, and that was fun. But I do want to drive more cars. I think, Silver Crowns always look good. Like the late model modified, even, even in more stuff on asphalt would be fun to try. Just like I
Are
said,
you
just kind
saying
of
like a
branch out
bang
and not.
banger or something, like a 4-wheel drive or front wheel drive car?
Yeah, even some, yeah, absolutely. There's a bang banger race in Oregon that's called the 30-30. They do 30 laps
asphalt
forward, 30 laps backwards.
or no? Because y'all got some big
That's
asphalt
dirt.
mini stock races over there, I believe.
There is some of that too. Yeah. So I mean, or there's the pavement sprint car. They're doing that big 50,000 to win race in Vegas in a couple months or in a month or whatever. But any of that, I just would like to branch out and just say it's really cool as a driver, to be able to do that.
Are you going to do that pavement race? Is that a race you're? Has anyone ever? I'm assuming people reached out to you. You're within the region.
I not for that one. I do know a guy that has built a couple cars and whatnot that has helped me on my stuff. But just something like you always keep an eye out. But like I said, here and there you do get some long shot offers for things, but it's just so tough with with my schedule too. Like if I got racing in my own car, unless it was something bigger, you're not going to go run some local show at something when you're racing, you're racing Trophy Cup, you're racing some of this other stuff. So
okay. Well, so there's nothing. Everybody probably thinks you just get offers left and right, but it's more so you're just sitting there doing your own thing and no one cares.
I do think that there's some of it. Don't get me wrong, here and there, like I said, I would say I get smaller opportunities, but I mean, there's no, there's never just like, there's not full-time rides sitting there, one in, like I said, it's just kind of here and there. And if from time to time, if they work, I try to take advantage of them. But, and like I said, it's also tough, my location, because, basically anything I'm going to do, you're flying out and you're going somewhere, which, like I said, is all part of it. It's just, it's one thing when you're, if you're in Missouri, you can hop in the car or whatever, you can take some miles down and go do stuff. But out here, we're definitely a lot more closed off to what we got.
We've heard this rumor for a while. Are you thinking of relocating to a more centralized area? I know there's been some kicks around coming to Knoxville for a year or something like that. Is any of that happening, or is that just all hearsay?
No, I'm really working on that. I mean, I don't have anything really set in stone, but I am really working on that. I want to get a shop. I'd like to be somewhere in between Knoxville and Indy would be like, I think the perfect goal for me. I think for me, I just looking at like what's really best for our team. I feel like, like I said, I want to go national racing, but I feel like we could also use a really good year just full time in the Midwest. We've raced a lot. Like this year I ran out, I probably spent 3.5 months traveling total by the time you add it up in a couple different stints, gone away from home in the Midwest racing. But, until it'd be nice to just be out there and be able to set basically a schedule where you can kind of your own true outlaw schedule, just run as much as you can and what pays good and what makes sense. And like I said, bounce around to, some races that you have a better shot at winning. Then you have your outlaw and high limit races, like I said, a chance to just really win and build up. Like I said, it's harder doing that out here just because, like I told you, you got to change motors 360 to 410. And, we'd only have that one national swing at the end of the year. So my goal is to do that. Yeah. I'm hoping this off season to figure something out. I'm going to be going to PRI. So that'll be a chance. I got to see Indy for the first time last year when I was kind of, there for a little bit. So, I mean, I think that something like that is what my career is needed. And I just got to get all my stuff out there too. So whatever it takes for us to kind of be on the road. The good news is I've kind of heard some stuff that maybe it sounds like some of the national schedules are changing. So maybe if they start a little closer out this way, then we could kind of catch up with them earlier in the year and head out. So,
yeah, that would make sense. I know it was 2-3 years ago. The Outlaws were consistently doing the spring swing. They would go from Florida straight to the West Coast, but then they stopped doing that because of the rainouts. But I was gonna hit on that point you were making about Midwest. It did seem with the 2 national series this year that they rotated areas. So you got twice as much national action in pretty much every area, even the West Coast. Obviously, y'all had a month and a half straight of technically national events. Where before it would have been, a couple weeks, 3 weeks or so. And that kind of was the feeling in the Midwest this year. I felt like, High Limit was in the area for 2 or 3 weeks, and then they would go to PA, and then the Outlaws, they would just rotate both areas back and forth. So it does seem with the two national series, there's double the action always happening.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, I feel like too, it's kind of opened up some like, you'd have to really go through and pencil them out, but there's some weekly shows that, or I shouldn't say weekly, but I don't know, named races or whatever that pay decent money that, now there's, I don't want to say less competition at, but maybe there's, guys that would have been at some of those races that are now, especially it seems like so many guys are trying to jump on a national tour that all of a sudden, I feel like, and like I said, I hate using the word easier, but like I said, there's less local competition in some areas. Even Pennsylvania lost a couple of their people. They're out traveling. And, like I said, California kind of has its own guys, but there's these races that pop up from time to time. If you really, you're paying attention that, you'll see some guys win and, a decent check. So I feel like there's plenty of races to run that also are not Outlaws and High Limit that have, some notoriety or, like I said, a chance for more like a team like us that we're trying to kind of build our notebook in a lot of different ways, but necessarily maybe, consistently running with the Outlaws and High Limit is always the best.
Right. Right. So what's your schedule? What are you doing December 5th through the 7th? We got to get you in a late model at the Dome.
Oh, there we go. I don't got nothing. There we go. That could be
Oh
it.
my God. I should start being an agent. None of y'all are actually shopping yourselves in a way. It is crazy. It is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, like I said, I think it's easy just to get stuck kind of, you're trying so hard doing what you're doing and trying to
Or
build
you're in the
build a
shop doing all the
program that
work, it's whatever, I mean.
Yeah. So I mean, it gets tough. I mean, I think just alone for us, like, when we're working on all the things on our race team, it takes a lot of time. By the time you're building cars, sponsors, and relationships and all that, videos, I guess like all of a sudden time's gone. So, but yeah, you never know.
With all the fake news that's on Facebook, I'm gonna make a meme now or a fake image that says Tanner Holmes is gonna drive the Bloomquist car at the Dome. That'll be the #1 post on Facebook, guaranteed.
Yeah, that'll probably be a million reactions or whatever. That'll be a million impressions.
People don't understand that. Like I see all this fake news on Facebook right now. I get really pissed off at it. But if you like it and share it, like we know this because we know the monetized side of content. But when I see like a fake news thing, like for instance, when Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala and she lost 125 million, which was a complete lie, but people loved it, bid it, shared it, commented on it. It's like 75,000 shares, and it's like this lie that just made this page like 10 grand. It's insane
Yeah,
to know the monetization of content and then to see the manipulation of it on our little dirt society that we see every day.
absolutely. No, I think there's a big side of that people don't realize, and that, I mean, unfortunately, in today's day and age, like I said, fake news spreads 10 times faster just because, like you said, I mean, a share, word of mouth, whatever, and then now no one knows what the truth is. So
I hate to.
yeah, no,
I'm not going to ask you your political affiliation. We can't lose your followers. But why are you laughing? I mean, they assume you're West Coast. They assume you're jumping off the left. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe not. I don't know.
yeah, no, I honestly, man, with what I do, we're so knee deep into it. I don't pay too much attention, to what I got. Honestly, if you were to tell me all the latest news of what's going on in the world and whatnot, I wouldn't know much. I just know we got the election coming up, and
You do know there was a hurricane, right? You do know that.
I do. Yeah, yeah. That I do take that back. I love following the storms, so that's bad.
Okay.
I was following all of that pretty heavily, but the hard part is you don't always know because you go on Twitter and you see videos and you don't actually know if that's what's going on now or that's an old video or what. Same thing, right? But yeah, no, I did know about that. Because we don't have that stuff on the West Coast. We just got wildfires, so I always try to pay attention to the other storms and stuff because I kind of find that interesting. That's the one thing you got me on.
So you do pay attention to storms.
Yeah, no, all that stuff I kind of do just because I don't know. I find it fascinating. I always felt like if I wasn't doing what I was doing, I'd probably have went to school and learned all that stuff. But like I said, out here we don't got any of that stuff. We just got wildfires that burn all of our tracks and houses down and stuff. So.
Yeah, that just sounds awesome. Like not direct energy weapons though. That's the conspiracy. Not the Hawaii incident. Hopefully.
Yeah, no, I mean, but yes, that's just what we deal with out here, which is totally unfortunate too and stuff. In its own way, it's terrible. It's just, but yeah. So, otherwise, no, just knee deep in sprint car racing and my own stuff, and yeah.
Okay.
I'm probably not
just making sure. I go the conspiracy routes. I see what's the business doing, what's that doing. I like paying attention to. I don't really pay attention. I pay attention to politics to see what the manipulation is doing, but I pay attention to the business aspects of everything that happens and why, more so than the drama based theatrics, in my opinion, that occur in front of everything. Like it's crazy to know that Asheville, North Carolina, has like a lithium deposit under it, and they've been trying to mine the town, but they couldn't because of the amount of people in the town. Now it's underwater. That's just crazy to me.
Wow.
Yeah. There's some angles, man. There's some crazy angles out there.
For sure.
And then back to the posting, the lie based content. So you had that hurricane go up in there in the Florida and devastate everybody and everything like that. Last night, freaking Fox 13 News, which is Tampa Bay, Florida's 13 News, posts a post of a tropical storm that's gaining strength, and over the next few days will develop into a Category 4 hurricane. They posted on their page, which I saw it. I'm like, oh my God, another thing's going. It's going to hit them again. You go in the comment sections, and there's a guy like going off on Fox saying, and he shows the tropical storm they're talking about. It's like in the middle of the ocean somewhere. It's like not even going to affect the state or nothing. But it's like you got fear mongering based posts on a actual news station in Florida. Like, why would you do that? This is so deceptive,
No, absolutely. Yeah, no, like you said, that's what we're dealing with so much nowadays, and it makes it tough more than anything just to know what to believe. You have no idea what to believe, and that's why I think sometimes, and this is coming from a content creator, but sometimes you just got to shut all the stuff off, and like I said, do what you do, and like I said, that's coming from me, and like I post more than anyone you've ever met, but yeah, it's just unfortunately that's the negatives of social media nowadays and all that.
Does it end up being a situation where you just stay in the bubble that you could control? Is that what ends up defaulting? Because if you get outside the bubble, you run into all this craziness that we're describing. So is that kind of where, not the method of the madness, but I mean, if you just stick to your little bubble of racing, it's, what's happening here. You ain't got to worry about all that crazy stuff,
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think in general too. I mean, my personal opinion would say I think people, are probably better off just living their life that way anyway. Just being, like I said, doing what they want to do and focused on that. Like I said, I think it's so easy to let what's on our screens or what they're telling us on the news or this or that, and then affects you, makes you upset. Like for me, I just think, like I said, there's one way to fix it. You just turn the damn thing off and like I said, live your life, hang out with the people you want to hang out with, and do things how you want to do it, and be around like-minded people. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is, the way that you want to do it, or you think, you should be around people that also do the same. And so for us, we're racers, so we're around other racers, and I would say for the most part, everyone's kind of in the same, wants to do things that way. And I mean, we have that disease, so we have that in common. But yeah.
So hold on. You said you pay attention to the storms. There's nothing else to Tanner Holmes. There's nothing else you're into. You don't like football. There's nothing. It's just racing and storms.
Yeah, no, not. I'm trying to think. Not necessarily. No, I mean, like I said, I mean, the content thing. It can consume you as far as, I mean, you get caught up in doing this so much that it's always that next thing. So for me, I'm probably more than anything I'm watching a lot of content. for multiple reasons. Some I just enjoy. Usually I'm watching stuff that's, like I said, I probably get into the storm stuff because like that's different than racing. I usually am not always watching as much racing content because I'm super heavily, obviously into that myself. But yeah, no, man, that's,
Like you ain't watching
that's
what camera's coming out next? What's better, Canon or Sony? I mean,
I don't actually pay attention to that stuff either. I try to get my setup to where basically my stuff, you can hit record and capture. I mean, I've experimented with some fancier cameras, like a 360 cam, because it's kind of cool and it's still pretty easy to use and stuff like that. But I just try to have the simplest setup because at the races, man, if you're not ready to get it or to talk, like you're going to miss it. So
what is your rig? That's a good question. What is your camera rig? What is it?
Yeah, it's just a DSLR. I just use a DSLR Canon 77D, which is pretty nice. And it has a shotgun mic, and then I also have a Canon R6, which is a much nicer camera that sometimes I get B-roll with, and I also use and then I got GoPros and stuff, and a 360 cam. So I got pretty big arsenal of options, and they're always good for something. There's sometimes I just vlog on a GoPro, sometimes I vlog on my big goofy DSLR camera, but like I said, it's just whatever's easiest. And a lot of times too, I have help at the races, but it's not like consistent help. Like I have like a full-time employee or nothing. Sometimes it's usually just a fan will come and help me in film. So I just have something that's easy that I can hand to them and it's recording and they can just get the shot that they need to get, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you said 770. I'm like, what? I've seen way better than that. Then you said R6, and it's like, oh, that's where the hitter's at. Okay, so R6 is your hitter camera.
Basically, and that's pretty nice. But like I said, for the most part, I kind of went away from when I first got into it, man, I was all about getting the best camera, this or that. But honestly, nowadays, some people make some of the coolest phones. So I don't think, like I said, what you use isn't. It's all more about your story or your topic or whatever. I just think you can always make the best of what you got. So like I said, and honestly, as you get that fancier stuff, it more just becomes a pain than anything. And on race day, there's so much going on. So the last thing you want is to be dealing with a camera or something just to try to get what you need to get.
Definitely. That's definitely true. And really the editing's where the work is at. So
absolutely. Yeah, no, oh gosh, that's a nightmare.
Yeah, people underestimate that. Sometimes they say you don't have a job. Go edit some video. Come back. It's you'd almost rather be out there digging a ditch somewhere.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think more than anything, it just depends. I'm the type of person, like, fun fact about me is I don't really sit still well, so it's impressive that I do edit. I don't edit well. I usually edit in, like, segments, and then I get up and go do something because I really can't focus long enough. I'm a part of the new generation. We can't, our attention span is very low. So, yeah, that's how I work. But I just do my best, try to power through it. And, 1,400 videos later, we're here.
Is horizontal going away? Is vertical taking over? That's what I've been experimenting with. It's pretty crazy some of the numbers you can get on TikTok and how much performance you can get on vertical videos. I almost started making little docs with vertical only, all-nighters, and it's just as successful.
Yeah. All my long form stuff I keep vertical. I probably won't shy away from that, but yeah, no, I can definitely tell you how the reels and stuff have been unbelievable, and I don't know if it's the algorithms or what, but like, you can post,
it's access,
you can post one yeah, I mean, like like my dad, we made a funny little reel this last weekend. He was spraying some WD on the brake rotor of our quad. Like, I just made a funny reel about it saying he was tuning the thing. He wasn't tuning or whatever, and it got like 2 million views on Facebook. And a lot of it, in like I said, it's just crazy. It's just out of nowhere stuff, like sometimes. So
right. I filmed the one leg guy at Kansas. I don't know if you saw that video. I kind of joked with him. He was leaning on a rail. I was like, is that really a one-legged sprint car guy right there? No fucking way. So I walked up and I was like yelling at him. And I told him he can't lean on the rail. I said, there's no leaning on the rails. And he all got scared and jumped off. And I said, no, I'm just kidding with you. And I was like, are you really missing a leg? I thought that was a prank. And it got like 9 million on TikTok and 2 on YouTube and 18 million, but something like that. And then of course, Metallic Carpenter Shorty Shorts, but that was a late model video or reel. But it is crazy how random it is. Like, also one of my biggest ones on there was just filming a robot arm make me a coffee at the San Francisco airport. 5 million on TikTok. Like, Yeah, it was just a robot arm.
Yeah.
I didn't know it at the time, but apparently it was only one of 3 of those robot arms in the world. But yeah, that 5 million, bam. And it's just like so random.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, no, nowadays, like I said, that's kind of where, and it's a little unfortunate because, I mean, I think realistically, the long form, the documentaries, the videos, the
Matter.
20, the 15, 20, those are the ones that's the really, that is the quality content, unfortunately. But nowadays, people are, they're stuck on the
Quantity.
5 second scroll, 5 seconds, and I get it. It's just where the world's at. But, nowadays, unfortunately, the really time, effort, and all that into content, it doesn't matter as much. Or I think it still does. There's still a place for it, but it's not as, you could go make a movie and, and you can go make a movie and spend a year making this movie, or you could go spend 10 seconds on a reel and you're going to get, 30 million views versus a couple, you could get a couple hundred. It's just crazy on a movie. So yeah, that is kind of the unfortunate part, how, like I said, things have kind of transitioned, and that's just kind of where the world's at, I guess.
Do you almost feel like when you're making those long form ones that it's the principle of doing one? Because I definitely agree with what you're saying, but I think it sounds like I personally feel this way, that we need to influence people to be more long form than short form. And I feel that with TikTok as well. Like if you build an audience on YouTube, which to me is the hardest audience to build on, I think that's why they give you monetization at 1,000 subscriptions versus like 15,000 or whatever it is on TikTok, or 10 or whatever on Facebook. It seems like on a TikTok fan base, like you don't really actually have fans on there. You just got people who watch your stuff. They really may not even know who you
Oh,
are. Whereas on YouTube, I feel like when you build that subscription base, it's like you actually have a person that's dedicated to you in a way.
yeah, no, I would definitely agree. Yes, I would push people definitely into making long form content is the way to go. It's the hardest way to go, but that's really what you do want to do if you want to have, like you said, an actual follower, not just, a scroller. And that's the only way to actually develop a real relationship, I think, for people to see your personality, see who you are. If you're watching a video, you could tell, hey, could I be friends with this person? Or in some ways, when you're watching, it feels like you're there with them. So yeah, no, I think that I think that will, it does come and go in waves. That will always be around, and maybe it will come back and be more popular. I mean, it still is incredibly popular. It's just, nowadays you have, like you said, the TikTok stars and YouTube shorts and reels, but yeah, that stuff's definitely cool in the moment. But, like you said, as far as getting actually anywhere, it's no different. It's just a quick viral hit or a viral flop, and then, on to the next one.
Yeah. And even if somebody subs, I will say on YouTube or Facebook, I would suggest to any creator out there to look at reels and shorts and everything like that as advertisement more so than anything.
Yeah,
I think that's what that is an advertisement ploy. Because you'll gain. That's why you
for
could go
sure.
to
No,
a page and see them have like 15,000 followers or 30,000 followers and 2,000 likes. It's because all those followers added on the reel. You know.
for sure. For sure. Yeah, no, it's just it's definitely a good tool to grow, and you should absolutely use it. And I always advise that, like, take advantage of all the different outlets in today's world if you are trying to grow your own page or grow something. But at the end of the day, like, the longer form, whether that's a podcast, whether that's a documentary, whether that's a vlog, a video, like any of that is really where you're going to develop that real connection. And I would say grow something that's a lot more meaningful and develop a fan base.
Okay, last deal. We'll get you out of here soon. I know it's been a minute, probably longer than you thought. You never know when you
All
get
good.
on here.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite driver in the sport right now?
Ooh, favorite driver in the sport.
Dirt. How we could say dirt. I mean, you could add NASCAR, but I don't consider
Yeah.
females
Oh
men.
no, no.
But
I'll say NASCAR driver. That'll grind your gears. No.
no, I'm sure it's Kyle. But
Yeah. No.
no love for
Shoot.
Bell. Bell could have been just as good as Larson. Bell could have been. He just didn't have opportunity. But
No, yeah, no, absolutely. A ton, very talented. Obviously, wish we could still watch him run dirt. Shoot, you're putting me on the spot here. I was gonna say a late model guy. I was trying to think. I don't know. I feel like from a distance, I do enjoy watching what's going on more on the late model side, just because like it seems like it's a different world for me. I feel like I find myself watching a lot of, especially since he does a lot more on social, like Bobby Pierce and stuff like that. I've enjoyed, because he's just such an amazing late model driver.
I
So I
say
would
he's
say
a
like
sprint.
him
See, and he gets a lot of hate over there. He gets hated on in the late model communities. They don't like. And I've said it. He's a sprint car driver in a late model. His aggressive style, how he drives those cars with the attacking style, he drives it like it's a sprint car. The late model traditional fans, they don't like that. They hate him for that. That's why he gets some boos when he
for sure.
wins.
For sure. No, which I think it's cool. I mean, like, because he's just so exciting to watch. So I would say, like, in all the dirt racing, when I'm, like, kind of find myself scrolling, I find myself watching a lot of what he's doing and stuff. As far as the sprint car guys, I don't really have anyone necessarily, just because I don't know, like, they're in my world, and I view them all kind of as, obviously, just as competitors. So yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. They'll obviously have a lot of respect for them all, and what they've done to get to the top of the sport. I know it's not easy. So, but yeah, well, like we kind of said, we'll see how things play out and who stays at the top and where guys go coming up.
So Bobby Pierce is your favorite race car driver. That's the answer, technically.
Yeah, that'd probably be the best one I got. Yeah, I mean, and also too, because it's cool on the late model side of things. I mean, at least from all my knowledge, he kind of does things how I want to do things. Like I said, has more of his own team, wins races, doesn't really care. Kind of is fun too. Like, he like has a personality. Isn't just, one of the guys, because obviously there is some guys in dirt racing that, don't really show that, and that's totally their own choice. But I think that I don't want to say that hinders the sport, but you know what I mean? We need characters. We need good guys. We need villains. Like that's part of the act. That's part of the show. Right? That's what.
Well, we both know guys that if they expose themselves more online, it wouldn't be for the good. We know those guys too. So,
well, and yeah, that is true. So maybe there's that side of it too for dirt racing. So yeah, there definitely is that, but I don't know. It's hard to say. So I just, but yeah, no, I like people that kind of, I mean, I like seeing people in the sport that have done things at least the way that I'm trying to do them, as far as, like I said, kind of having your own deal and racing and winning races. So, yeah.
Do you have a younger driver coming up you think's good? Anybody micros or outlaw carts over there coming up, or are they just, hell, they move so fast over there, it's hard to keep up with them, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure.
You would have said Landon Brooks a couple years ago, right? I mean,
yeah, no, I mean, and Landon's doing a phenomenal job. Landon's doing a really, really phenomenal job. Me and him race side by side all the time. In the kart stuff and whatnot. But I don't really pay too much attention to micro racing or nothing.
It's a big line.
I'm not really sure.
It's a big line between that outlaw kart and the micro scene. It's a big line.
No, it absolutely is. I mean, like I said, they're there, like there's a bunch of them in California and stuff, but I mean, I don't even know if I've ever really been to a real micro race. Like it's just, we're separated in that sense. So
well, now you have that Reno show is the same weekend as the shootout this year, I believe.
Yeah, that's a bad deal. I don't know if that's going to work out well, but it is cool that courts have a couple shows, trying to have more shows like that. That is cool, get to race for some money, and that's more of a bigger event. It's in like a little stadium deal, and there was a couple thousand people there last year. So I don't know. I think, and just honestly, some of that all trickles down. It's important that micro race. It seems like in micros, there's a couple guys now that are racing for pretty good money. That kid that's won 80 grand this year or whatever. So I mean, there's it's cool that even that is building up, and then, but also hopefully that's a good transition into the next step, getting them into wing sprint cars and, or midgets or whatever. I guess a lot of the micro kids end up in midgets, but.
Okay. Well, that was about it. I was going to ask you what was your favorite track that you experienced with Shark on the Outlaw Tour that you didn't think you would like. I'm sure that's happened.
Ooh, I mean, I knew I kind of thought I was going to like this place, but I ended up loving it a lot more. Was Port Royal was really cool. I did really enjoy that, just because I thought that place was going to be so tough because of how slick it was. But we really got our car good one of the final nights we were there. And I did really enjoy that place. Another one I wasn't sure about, I mean, now it's gone, so rest in peace, but Devil's Bowl. And we ran good one of the nights at Devil's Bowl, but that place was just so weird shaped. Never been anywhere where the backstretch was like, you're standing on the backstretch, you're like looking down at the front stretch. So that was kind of an interesting.
Yeah, going into turn 3 there is pretty intense. That was my track that I announced that I've actually hot lapped a car there. I promoted that
really?
track. That's where I was from. Yes, I did promotions at the track, announcing at that track, and developed some of the opinions that I have today based on my experience there, like I was saying. But yeah, I was there for that event as well. It was pretty good how much they packed that place on its final day. So
for sure. So I mean, and there's a lot of hidden gems across the country, for dirt tracks and stuff. Just hopefully, the national series get to some of them, just like the one we had here in Roseburg. I mean, I know it wasn't the greatest race, but there's opportunities like that, and those are good opportunities to grow the sport and get new people involved. So
yeah. Okay. Anything you want to say before we get you out of here? Or, somebody asked, "Are you running Chili Bow?" I mean, I guess we could throw the chat up there if you want to say something, but
I don't think I'm going to be at Chili Bowl this year. No, unfortunately. I love Chili Bowl. It's hard when you're, it's hard.
Did you have to rent that ride last year?
Yeah, no, that's a sponsor deal, and I brought sponsorship and stuff. So I mean, and Chad has really good cars, so I can't, I mean, they do a really good job. If I could run again, I would choose to try to run with them, or if they didn't have an open spot at another top team. But yeah, so I think that's probably what Chili Bowl's looking more like for me this year. But I know, thanks for having me on. I know I'm not the most controversial person or nothing. I don't always have the greatest gossip, but I
ain't always controversial. I mean, I said this to somebody else the other day. I asked them to come on the show, and they shied away. I mean, I ain't always controversial, but I ain't afraid. The thing that happens is in this sport, something controversial happens, and they're scared to even speak about it. That's the problem.
Yeah, and that's totally fair too, and I think there's room for it. I think that there absolutely, and I feel like as I've gotten older, I can really appreciate people. I can appreciate different ideas, and I try to, like we use the word open-minded. I try to be more open-minded, especially about the sport. And that's where, like, I think originally, I know when you came into the scene, people were like upset about some of it, but realistically, with what you had to say is not wrong, for the perception and all that, and like. You're just trying to tell everyone that we're just looked at it like high school football, which as a professional, I would say professional athletes, that sucks. So,
right.
So yeah, so I mean.
Well, I mean, do I deserve credit for everything that's happened? I mean, maybe I came in and started running my mouth, and now it's paying more than ever. All this stuff has grown over the last 4, 5, 6 years, where it was stagnant for 30. So I should get all the credit, not Brad or Kyle.
Yeah,
I get all the credit. The speaker.
There you go. Chaz to the top.
Is Carly running sprints again?
I think we're working on Carly right now. She had broke her foot earlier in the year in a cart crash, so she's trying to run. She's going to try to run some carts this winter, get back in the seat, and then I don't know what she's a big part of my sprint car team right now too. So she's. I mean, obviously, she's one of the best in the pits. She's really developing her craft with that. She's a hard worker. So, but I know she does want to get back racing too at the same time. So, no matter what, everything that we've kind of been learning together, we'll either use together, or she's going to try to do some more racing on her own. So, try to get back behind the wheel.
What is your remaining schedule?
So I'm in Hanford this weekend for 2 nights. It's like SCCT on Friday, and then it's like a dual 20s on Saturday with KWS, and then we're going to go to Trophy Cup in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. So we'll have Trophy Cup, which kind of like said the last big California show of the year. And then after that, I mean,
did that add King of the West or something? Did they add 410s to that like a week before or something, or is that this week?
No. Oh, the week before. Yeah, there is a week before, like in between this weekend and the next weekend, there's like a single day show. We won't be there at that, but yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. We'll kind of see. I did hear a rumor that maybe that Trophy Cup was going to go back to 410s at some point. That kind of was one of the hot topics I heard recently, but I don't know if that's actually true because Trophy Cup's obviously just a big 360 race. So, but yeah, so we'll kind of see. But that's kind of my remaining schedule. About this time of year is when weather and all that starts playing a factor.
So you're not going to do? So do we need to get you one of those asphalt rides for the 50K, the sprint car deal, or?
Yeah, if we can pull that off, I'll be there. That would be pretty cool.
Well, I
There in
mean,
Vegas.
Davey Hamilton Jr. told me to name my price on to be there. He obviously wants me there, so I guess we could talk to him about your interest.
There you go. Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, between that and one of these days,
Asphalt
I'll
sprint
hop in the
cars are
sprint car.
badass. They are.
Oh they're really cool. Like I said, I mean, I've only heard good things about them. What's cool too is they it seems like they've got so much power that they blow the tires off. So sometimes guys can have different engine combinations and stuff and still go fast. It's not just like if you have the best 410 motor, you're the best guy.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. Somebody wants to know, how do you feel about being in the video game? I don't know how I feel about the new video game, Tanner. I just I don't believe in coming out with a new game and it's the same as last year with new skins. I just don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't got a chance to play it yet. I
haven't
probably,
either, but that's what the complainers are saying. It's the same thing as last year, but
gotcha. Yeah, no, I see. I don't know. Like I said, I need to jump on it because I was pretty lucky they added me. But yeah, I just another thing I used to play games all the time and play iRacing, but I haven't in years. So yeah.
I guess the only way you would fire that up is if we got you a late mall ride. And then you need to get laps in the late mall. I guess it's the closest thing you could get would be iRacing, I would assume.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad tool. I mean, before I went to Chili Bowl, that's what I did a little bit. I mean, I don't know if it necessarily helped me, but at least kind of helped me recognize what it's going to look like, right? So, and I think that's important. I think that's one to actually. I tell kids nowadays, if you want to be a good racer and you want to, from a young age, if you have the opportunity, these 6-7-year-old kids, I do tell them, if you spend some time on iRacing, you'll probably develop your racecraft a lot and stuff. I think it is a valuable tool for that. I think it's a big deal,
Yeah, I think we said it in our last time we talked. I don't think that a kid or an adult, if say an adult runs into money, they want to get a race car, I don't think you should get into a real race car until you can consistently control and race on iRacing. It will save you so much money and learn curve.
Absolutely. No, I can't disagree with that at all, because I do think, I'm not saying if you're the best iRacer in the world, you're going to hop in a sprint car and light the world on fire, but I do think there's a lot of you don't realize, racing is a lot about training your brain and how to react and how to, basically pick out what to do for 30 or 35 laps and how to win that race. And like, you can do that on iRacing. I think even if you're my age, and I've been fortunate enough to run all over the country and race outlaw cars, race a midget, and race sprint cars, and go up against Donnie and Brad and all these guys. But like, I think it still would be helpful for me if I'm able to spend time on iRacing, just because it's just that consistency of just, like I said, it's racecraft. Racecraft's everything, right? So there's no way to necessarily train yourself for that.
No, you can't. Yeah, well, just where to be on the racetrack, how to enter a corner. When a guy messes up, how to maneuver your car off the corner to set up your entry to the neck. There's just so many little nuances that you can't physically experience in the world, but you can at least digitally experience in the game prior. Just to, like you said, a racecraft. People are saying shout out to Tanner's parents. They really deserve a lot of credit. I get there's this couple in Knoxville named Sean and Connie. Do you know who these people are, Tanner? They bring y'all cookies or something every year, I guess, when y'all come to Knoxville. I don't know. Have you heard of Sean and Connie?
I probably have. Yeah, I'm really bad at names. I'm good at remembering faces. But yeah, no, that's one thing that is cool about what we do is now as we've traveled, you know how it is. You meet friends and stuff.
Yeah.
So we have people that bring us. I mean, we're very fortunate. I've had, our fans, not to just go on this rant or whatever, but yeah, I mean, I've had our fans help us a lot. I mean, this year I had probably 5 or 6 tires bought for our team, or, people bring us dinner. Like, I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, that's what dirt racing is all about,
It is extremely hard to keep up with names, but the faces, you could sometimes forget a face too, depending on, I think there's like 150, they say it's like 150 faces is like your max. And you got to once you get past the 150, you start rotating out the older ones and the newer ones.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. I mean, honestly, if I see a fan just a couple times, they introduce their name every time, I will remember them. I mean, I'm pretty good, especially going area to area. I am pretty good about that. I mean, if it's a basic interaction, it's less. But if something crazy happens, or someone brings me a roll of quarters or something, or you never know. Like one fan, I made a TikTok with them, like that stuff you're not gonna forget. So, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm pretty lucky. Luckily, no matter where we go, we usually have someone that's there to support us.
I've been curious to ask this actually. I know I keep saying we're gonna get you out of here. How is the
No, you're good.
merch sales for you? Is it Rico outlaw ish level, or I know you probably don't know everybody's numbers, but we hear a lot of numbers just from PA and stuff. 250,000 a year for the average top shoe in a local PA scene. Are you working around that? I'm assuming it'd be a lot of online sales. How is merch sales in the business department for you? Is it like this outlaw high limit PA important level that we hear about?
Yeah, we have a good. I mean, we have a good mix. Luckily, we got this T-shirt trailer this year, which helped exponentially. I don't know what other guys are doing, but I mean, we're very fortunate. We do very well with our merchandise trailer, and especially like when we talked earlier in the show about like when you're struggling at, when you go to these races when there's 40 or 50 or 60 cars, you don't make the show, you're not getting a lot of money, right too. So like for us, our merchandise trailer, like single-handedly this year helped support like what we were doing. And like on your tough nights, that's kind of sometimes what you're falling back on. Obviously you want to run well, and sometimes when you run good, that helps take care of what you're doing. But on others, it doesn't, even just like getting your normal start money, that helps, but that still is not, costs more than $1,200 some nights to go race. I mean, it does. So, yeah, no, I mean, we're very, very lucky with what we do. And anytime we had the chance to drag the trailer around, even though it's having a second rig and stuff that, like I said, help support what we do and stuff. So, I feel like I would think that we're probably just judging at those big races when we're there. I would think that we were on the level as those guys. I mean, obviously there's the outliers, like you said, Rico and Larson and whatnot, and those guys, do very well, and they have stuff that they've built and worked really hard to do. But that's kind of we're working towards that way too, because that's the other side of this business and stuff, right? With dirt racing and merchandise and all that. And luckily for us too, since have my own car and stuff, we have a little bit more of that recognition, instead of, obviously when guys are going from car to car to car, sometimes the T-shirt don't last too long before it's, a couple cars behind the driver. So, yeah.
It's National Taco Day. Soft shell or hard shell?
Soft shell.
Soft shell.
Soft shell all day long.
Okay.
Yep.
I do have
Yep.
a text message question. I can't believe this person is saying this. That you think they would know, Tanner. Are you in a relationship or getting married anytime soon?
I am in a relationship. Yes, that is public knowledge.
Yeah, why would they even ask? You think if they stalked you enough, maybe they saw your picture on the show and they're like, "Who's this?"
There's a really.
Do you have
one of the better videos
stalkers?
I posted.
Do you have stalkers, Tanner? I mean, we hear the female versions all the time.
Yeah, I mean, from time to time, you get, I guess you could say, a little bit. The only weird thing we've had one person show up to the house one time. That was probably the most weird, but that just happens, right? So other than that, though, nothing too crazy.
Nothing like you. I mean, not you roll up to the car wash and there's the same girl waiting or guy waiting and nothing crazy.
No, nothing like that. I mean, we did have someone that was knocking on our door inside the fairgrounds at Knoxville this year. That kind of freaked us out, but it wasn't like during nationals time. It was like when we were there in the middle of the week for a weekly show. So we had that go down. So I mean, like I said, it's very rare and few and far between. And obviously because I'm a guy, probably, not as much, but yeah, between, like I said, just that. And, like I said, we had someone show up to our house one time, but that was, they were nice. So it was all good.
Well, and it seems like you stay away from the party scene decently well, which is there. It's a very scary, dark world in the party scene, of the dirt world. But it seems like I jump into it every now and then. I'm not afraid, but I've never seen you in that dark underworld of the party scene of dirt track racing.
Yeah, no, I just maybe in the future I will a little more. I don't know. I never really, like I said, I just never that was never as much my thing. Going to Dingus and stuff. Like I said, I'm sure it's really fun. But yeah, I don't know. That it takes
Like the
usually a
glow
little more for me to
party.
come out of.
I mean, I'm not seeing Tanner Holmes at the
I
glow
would.
party. Were you there this year?
I know that is actually I did. I was there for a little bit. I was kind of bouncing in and out. So like here
But
and
that's
there,
what I
yeah, you'll
mean. Like,
definitely
it's
catch.
not just like nationals. It's just like and maybe that's attuned to the success. They say the people who party late don't succeed early. Maybe that is a part of the success. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I actually don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think that was just more like not as much my thing. But as I've gotten a little older, I definitely have. Like I said, the glow party. I was in the bikini contest this year. At holding the sign or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think to each their own. Some people can do it and it doesn't affect them, and some people maybe it does. Like I said, I think it's probably all in your own capabilities. But there's some fun people in dirt racing. That's for sure. They definitely have a good time.
Yeah, the commenters are saying you stay clear of Diddy activities. Oh, P Diddy activities. You say you don't pay attention to news. Have you heard about this P Diddy thing?
I no, I've seen all the memes, but I don't know what they're talking about.
Okay, sounds like you're covering for him, Tanner.
Yeah, maybe I am. Maybe that's your
Mm-hmm.
clickbait for the next.
It's always the silent ones.
No,
Are you a
like
Swiftie?
I said, that's where I'm. No, I don't really. I mean, no, I don't.
What is your music? Did they play your high limit hit list or no?
No, I didn't have a high limit list. I listened to all sorts of stuff. I mean, a little bit of country, a little bit of some rap, whatever. Like I said, any of that. It's all good. It's all good to me.
Okay. I guess
I know.
we made the.
I'm sorry.
It said an hour. No. I don't think it's a sorry. There's too much. I personally, societal philosophy here. I guess I think there's too much influence in doing the irresponsible bad things personally, and I think what we say and do on these cameras is part of that. So if you can add a angle of or a representation or example of not being the all night partying, this, that, or the other type person, that's a great example. In a relationship, not partying all night, scared to go to the glow stick party for more than an hour. That's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
the glow stick stuff is toxic chemicals. I mean, who knows the implications of that stuff being on their body?
Maybe, yeah, no, Gold Cup's a crazy one. That's what I would definitely tell people if they want to. Everyone thinks of all these other races, but man, if you want to have a good time, you need to come to the Gold Cup and the glow party. That'll change your life.
The glow party is nice, and freaking what's his name? Damn it, Copeland. I heard he really got a guy good. He had to take a guy down. That was intense. I heard.
Yeah. Oh, I think something did happen there because a fan showed up with a black eye to my pit the next day and was talking to me or whatnot, and then I connected the dots later. So I mean, that's what California. Hey, that's California, man. California is full of scrappers, man. That's how it is out here.
Every year at the bikini contest, I get in a fight one way or another. Somebody tries to fight me. It hasn't failed 3 years straight now. Somebody has tried to. This year it was over Drake York. It's like, how? I didn't say anything about Drake York, but people just want to fight. And they want a excuse to press the Chaz or whatever to have a scene. I look at it as they feel insignificant, so they're trying to be significant in their actions. But
I saw your poster this year of the upcoming fight or whatever.
Well, that was a whole nother subject. That Brian Hubert is just a weird guy, man. And I heard a lot of people want to beat him up. But when I had an issue with another guy that was like 4 times his size, but after I had that issue, he came up and I was like, "Really? You wanted to fight me? The guy's small. I like. What is wrong with him? He has to have never been physically harmed in his life. There's no way. There's no way."
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, he works for Mark Hartworld and stuff. He's all buddies. He's your life of a party.
Well, I heard he ripped some people's plugs off their car at that Reno race and had like people trying to fight him or something. I heard he's a troublemaker.
Oh, I don't know if that happened, but yeah, no, I mean, time to time, yeah, that is the go-to move though in karts. Yeah, just rip the old spark plug off and keep her going. So
yeah, bunch of douchers. But anyway, All right, I guess we'll let you get out of here finally. Is anybody you want to say hi, hello to or anything, or you just want to finally get off the phone?
No, I mean, just thanks for having me on. I'm sure I'll see you at the races soon, and just we'll get back to work, get ready for 2025.
Are you saying I have to find a way to Trophy Cup this year? Is that what you're saying?
You should find Trophy Cup's a good one, man. Trophy Cup
I've
is a
been
good one.
to it.
So
It's a long damn ways, man. It's a long ways out there.
no, I get it, and it's tough. Even if I get it too, because it's a great race. It's hard to create some storylines sometimes because people are or not watching. So I get it. As
Well,
far as for what you do and stuff, I get it.
and I'm trying to put together a Florida Speed Week series right now too, for the 305 division. We're a couple steps away. Maybe we need to get you in on that. I want to make a little event series of the 305s in Florida and kind of use this little series to show the other guys how the sport should be promoted. I think I can make the 305s bigger than any of the other events, just with proper marketing of the drivers in it, the series, presentation. I think we lack presentation hugely in American sprint car racing. So I have a slight opportunity here to do something with the 305s down in Florida in February. So January, February. So I got to worry about that as well. So, but yeah, I'm sure you don't want to drive a 305. You don't want to be bored out there. But they've been putting on some good races. I was surprised. That IMCA Race Saver Nationals deal was unreal. I couldn't believe it. They start them 3 wide, yeah. Tanner.
No, I think that is cool. Like I said, I think I'm all for all sprint cars matter. So, I mean, right. I think it's a good class. So, I don't know. I think, you got to get started somewhere. And at least if the whole country is on it, too, then people could come from all over. So, I think that'd be a good opportunity for you. Chance, too, then, all the stuff you talk about, you have a chance to show people how to do it.
Right. Yeah, and I just think that class, once again, the monetization to be, a Haley Deegan to a Tanner Holmes is the same monetization needed to be a Tanner Holmes to some 305 guy. There could be guys with David Gravel talent. They just only had a 305 budget, and that's a true fact.
For sure. No, I can't argue that. I agree with that.
So, anyways, thanks for calling in. We'll end it. I'm sorry. I get to rambling. It can go. So,
all good. Well, thank you, Chaz. You have a good one.
Thanks for calling in, Tanner. Well, there you had it, ladies and gentlemen. Tanner Holmes calling the show. There's his picture once again with this car. Look at him. Look at him. Why can't we be like Tanner Holmes? He makes smart decisions, doesn't party all night, probably doesn't drink Bud Light. Look at him. Just perfect. Look at him. Probably like the bikini you were wearing, Chaz. I wasn't wearing no bikinis. I'm tired of these accusations, ladies and gentlemen. We have a good show. We end it clean, and you're bringing up me in a bikini. Why are you doing this? I don't understand why you're doing this, guys. Y'all don't have to do this. I was gonna give y'all or give him a little bit of a plug. If y'all liked what y'all heard there, because I mean I sure did. You can go check out Tanner Holmes' website. You can purchase some gear. It is TannerHolmes.com. It is just how his name is spelled there. I actually looked at some of his gear here recently. What's it even look like? Let's see here. Shop. He's got his schedule on there as well. The Oregon Blue. What's this? They got like it's only $25. They got like a tie-dye mix, or not a tie-dye mix, but like a black, what do they call this? I forgot. It's not called Black Mist, but it's called, not charcoal. I forgot the flavor of that design. Let's see here. They got any other ones? Let's see what we got on the TannerHolmes.com website. He's got a autographed helmet shield that is out of stock, actually. They got right rear wheel covers. So it's more than just, actually, I haven't seen this a lot. It's more than just T-shirts here on the site. It's actually parts from the car. You got a wheel half that's signed. So this is actually innovative. You even got a polo. Look at this. Who wants to look like they're on a part of the team? Look at that guy. He looks so happy. That's crazy. Look at him. He's wearing a Tanner Holmes polo. That's actually cool. I like that. Got a mini wing panels on there. So TannerHolmes.com, you can even get you a hero car for $350. Wow. You can buy a receiver on his website. This is crazy. Oh, you can get a tank top. That's the crew member style. Oh my. That's crazy. That's different though. I like that. That's different. Innovative thinking in their shop on their website. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we'll check the chat real quick. Oh my God, they're still bitching. Oh, just jacking with you, bro. Said you got in a fight at the bikini contest and didn't know why. Okay. Can we call Joe and get a live update? A live update or a life update? We do need a life update on Joe. I don't know. I mean, I could text him. We could follow this up with a Broke Joe call. I guess he'll probably come in. Broke Joe is not a big Tanner fan, though, guys. I have a feeling he'll just insult me the whole time for even having him on the show. Oh, let's see. Oh no, Joe sent me Cat Williams videos. Apparently, all over the P Diddy deal. Joe's gone, guys. Joe's gone. We'll have to wait for another day on Joe. Anyways, thanks for tuning into the show here. It's nice to have Tanner Holmes on. We'll see what we have on display the next go round. Definitely will be chopping up some stuff, but it was a really good talk. If you missed it earlier, we're going to end the show. You can go and rewatch the whole entire thing. I want to thank Tanner Holmes for coming on to the episode, the live, the YouTube channel. Of course, he has his own YouTube channel at Tanner Holmes as well. Be sure to like the video, subscribe button. I know we didn't get, hold on, let me double check. We didn't get one super chat, which is fine. Not one damn super chat. So you can at least subscribe to the channel if you are not already subscribed. But there is the membership button as another option. Besides that, ladies and gentlemen, we will catch you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Ready to rip, ready to reach. Place my bets, hey, you never know when playing on hopes what you could achieve. Making the goal, peace with the soul, don't matter the bottle with what you believe. Cause if I'm taking it all in